Chapter 473. The thundercloud beast pressed down on the cloud and landed in a remote forest in the suburbs. It shrank its body again and patted Tang Zheng's face with its claws. "Tang Zheng, wake up quickly." After a while, seeing that he didn't respond, the thundercloud beast smacked its mouth in surprise. "He is injured and unconscious. What should we do? Should we save him? If we don't save him, who will deal with the 100 Faces Star Lord in the future?" This time, the thundercloud beast was ordered by Tian Chanzi to report the situation to Tang Zheng in the capital. On the way, it happened to encounter the flame bird. The thundercloud beast was no stranger to the flame bird. They had crossed swords in the 100,000 mountains. Seeing the flame bird acting sneakily, the thundercloud beast became suspicious. In the end, it followed the flame bird all the way to the capital. Unexpectedly, it was discovered by the flame bird. The two sides met and fought. During this time, the thundercloud beast finally figured out one thing. The 100 Faces Star Lord had already gathered most of the demonic beasts in the 100,000 mountains and called these demonic beasts master. The flame bird had submitted to the 100 Faces Star Lord. The two sides fought with all their might, resulting in lightning flashes, thunder rolls, and a storm. But who would have thought that because of this, the thundercloud beast would coincidentally meet Tang Zheng and even save him? The thundercloud beast was originally subdued by Xiao Bai and was tied to the rope of Tang Zheng. Just like what the flame bird said, if it was caught by the 100 Faces Star Lord, it would definitely lose its life. Although the thundercloud beast was a monster, its intelligence was not lower than a human's. Of course, it understood the seriousness of the matter. The flame bird sneaked into the capital. It must be up to something. I wonder what secret mission the 100 Faces Star Lord gave it. The thundercloud beast tilted its head and was puzzled. In the end, it had no choice but to focus on Tang Zheng. Let's wake him up first. The thundercloud beast opened its small mouth and spat out an inner core. The surface of the inner core was intertwined with lightning. The inner core floated above Tang Zheng's head. A small lightning bolt jumped down from the inner core and landed on Tang Zheng's body. Lightning flashed, and the lightning immediately wrapped around Tang Zheng, crackling non-stop. However, Tang Zheng was not injured in the slightest. His expression was serene as if he was in a deep sleep. The sky was turning bright, and the lightning on the surface of the inner core was getting weaker and weaker. The thundercloud beast was obviously very tired. It opened its mouth and swallowed the inner core into its stomach. "He's fine now," the thundercloud beast muttered tiredly as it lay beside Tang Zheng. Suddenly, its ears perked up as it vigilantly looked at a large tree in the distance. "Who is it? Come out!" the thundercloud beast shouted warily. She had spent a lot of effort to find the thundercloud beast and Tang Zheng. When she saw the scene just now, she guessed that the thundercloud beast was treating Tang Zheng's injuries, so she did not appear to disturb him. "It's you." The thunder beast wasn't unfamiliar with Marshall, just that it didn't have a good impression of him, full of hostility. Marshall lightly said, "I am not your enemy." Aren't you from the Marshall sect?" "The Marshall sect is our enemy." The thundercloud beast obviously knew about the matter between the Marshall sect and the cultivators, so it had a bad impression of him. Marshall remained calm. "It's true that I'm from the Marshall sect. If you hadn't saved Tang Zheng, I would have killed you right now." "Ha, you want to kill me? What a joke. Are you my match?" the thundercloud beast said in ridicule. Marshall's eyes turned cold as killing intent leaked out. He asked, "Are you sure I can't kill you now?" The thundercloud beast's heart trembled. Just now, in order to heal Tang Zheng, it had already used up too much of its innate qi. It was no longer a match for Marshall. Seeing that the thundercloud beast was speechless, Marshall did not press on. Instead, he asked, "When will he wake up?" "Anytime," the thundercloud beast said snappily. With that said, Tang Zheng slowly opened his eyes. The attention of the man and the beast was immediately attracted. Marshall asked with concern, "Tang Zheng, are you all right? Tang Zheng sat up, looked at her suspiciously, and said, I'm fine. He only felt that he had fainted in the Ye family, but why was he in the wilderness with Marshall? However, his gaze was quickly attracted by the thundercloud beast. He asked in surprise, didn't you leave with Tian Chanzi and the others? Why are you here again? It's a long story. The thundercloud beast sighed with emotion. Then we'll talk about it later. Tang Zheng waved his hand and stopped it. He turned to look at Marshall, what's going on? I believe you can give me an answer. You were betrayed by the Ye family. The Li Palace also wants to kill you. Marshall said calmly. What? Even though Tang Zheng's nerves were thick, he was still shocked by this news. However, he knew that Marshall was not like Li Xiaotian, who was full of lies and did not speak the truth. Moreover, there was no need for her to lie to him. I fainted in the Ye family. If it wasn't for the Ye family betraying me, how could I have left the Ye family and appeared here? Tang Zheng muttered to himself. I'm sure you've already guessed it. It's Yi Tianming. Marshall added. Tang Zheng's brows flashed with killing intent, and said in a deep voice, other than him, Yi Dingdang's family of 3 will definitely not betray me. You're quite confident. What about Yi Xuanji? Is he involved? Tang Zheng asked. I don't know about that. Tang Zheng started to think. The situation was getting more and more complicated. It seemed that his relationship with the Ye family had really come to an end. What should he do? Go back to the Ye family and denounce them? What a joke, the other party could directly deny it. Moreover, Yi Dingdang's family of 3 sandwiched in the middle was the most difficult. Yi Dingdang was deeply in love with him, how could he push her family into a dilemma? Thinking of this, he suppressed the anger in his heart and decided to temporarily ignore the Ye family. The Ye family was a harmless problem, but now the Li Palace wanted to kill him. Wasn't this kind of thing done by the Marshall organization? When did the Li Palace start to meddle in other people's business? I'm sure it was Li Xiaotian who personally took action. Tang Zheng asked. Your guess is very accurate. I even suspect that you were unconscious before. Marshall joked. But it was repelled by you. It wasn't me. Marshall shook her head and pointed to the shrunken thundercloud beast, it was him. Although you were unconscious for a short time, many things happened. I believe you will be interested, Marshall did not hide anything. Not only did she tell him about the battle between the thundercloud beast and the flame bird, she also emphasized the performance of Xing Feng's team. Dragon Group. Tang Zheng frowned deeply, and exclaimed, the officials actually established such an organization, and they even have the new weapon you described. Even such a powerful demonic beast like the blazing bird was captured alive, truly a scholar who has been away for 3 days, I have to look at you in a new light. He still remembered the scene when he met Xing Feng in Dianan. At that time, he was in complete control of the situation. He did not expect that the officials would not catch him, but instead create this dragon group. It seems that not only do I have to be careful of the Li Palace, I can't even lower my guard against the officials. Tang Zheng rubbed his nose and laughed self-deprecatingly. Are you afraid? As long as you return to the Marshall organization with me, no one can hurt you. Marshall advised. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily, you are very good at persuading people. If I go to the Marshall organization, maybe no one can deal with me. Of course. Don't look at how happy these people are. Would anyone dare to go to the Marshall organization and ask for someone? That's purely because they don't want to live. Marshall said confidently. Tang Zheng obviously understood this point, but he still shook his head and refused without hesitation, thank you for your good intentions. Marshall's face dimmed, but then his fighting spirit rose, I said that I would wait until the day you go to the Marshall organization. I will not give up. Tang Zheng shrugged, speechless. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Tang Zheng said. Now that the pool of water in the capital has been blown up, be careful not to turn it into a big wave that will push you to the bottom. Also, Chu Chongyang is dead, the balance of power in the capital for so many years will quickly be reshuffled, you better pray for yourself. Marshal reminded. Thank you for your reminder. Tang Zheng did not even turn his head. The thundercloud beast quickly followed, and when he was sure that Marshal had been left far behind, he asked in a low voice, Thundercloud beast, how are Tian Chanzi and the witch clan? They have already found the monastery. The small country over there is in turmoil. Whoever is strong will be able to stand firm. No one is their match. The thundercloud beast said proudly. Tang Zheng believed in their strength. Moreover, with Tian Chanzi, who had lived for thousands of years, dealing with them, he could indeed guarantee their safety. The 100 Faces Star Lord has already gathered all the demonic beasts in the 10,000 huge mountains. Although I don't know what he plans to do, it's definitely not a good thing. The thundercloud beast said. Tang Zheng's heart trembled. The name 100 Faces Star Lord meant unknown danger. Since he had gathered all the demonic beasts, then the world would truly be in chaos. However, Tang Zheng's current strength was still lacking, so it was of no use. If necessary, we can leak some information to the officials or the martial organization and let them investigate the 100 Faces Star Lord. Tang Zheng pondered. Thundercloud Beast, go back and tell Tian Chanzi to act according to the plan. For the time being, hold back the troops and accumulate strength. When necessary in the future, we will take advantage of the situation. Do you understand? Tang Zheng instructed. Yes, I understand. However, Tian Chanzi has been talking about finding the heaven and earth obsidian all day long. I wonder if you have any clues. The thundercloud beast asked casually. Tang Zheng's heart thumped. Of course he had clues about the heaven and earth obsidian. Who knew how many pieces were buried in the imperial city? There were also some in the southern sea dragon palace. However, he was not prepared to tell this secret to anyone, not even Tian Chanzi. He understood the importance of the heaven and earth obsidian. This was related to the secret of the heavens beyond heaven. It was also related to the problem of whether or not the cultivators would return. Tian Chanzi wholeheartedly wanted the cultivators to return. However, Tang Zheng was still indecisive. He was afraid that the cultivators would set off a reign of terror in this world. The heaven and earth obsidian must be in my hands first. I can only take it out when necessary. Tang Zheng made up his mind and decided to continue keeping this secret. Tian Chanzi also asked me to tell you another thing. He is worried that you will encounter a lot of trouble in the capital. Furthermore, the four symbols Venerable and Xiao Bai will not be able to make a move most of the time, so he found you a helper. The thundercloud beast said. Helper? Yes, he said this helper is called Huang Xiang. Huang Xiang. Tang Zheng suddenly realized. Chapter 474. After the thundercloud beast left, Tang Zheng also understood the problem with his helper, Huang Xiang. Back then, Tian Chanzi did not bring Huang Xiang out of the capital, but left him at a pass 100 kilometers north of the capital. This pass was a place that the military would fight for in ancient times, and only in modern times did it gradually become desolate. However, because that pass had experienced too many wars, countless people had died, and the yin qi was dense. Even in broad daylight, the yin qi was dense, and there were few people there. This place just so happened to be Huang Xiang's blessed land. Huang Xiang had been turned into a puppet by Tian Chanzi, and the denser the yin qi was, the faster his cultivation would increase. This time, he had been left at that pass for such a long time, so he didn't know how much his strength had grown. Tian Chanzi reckoned that Tang Zheng lacked helpers, so he sent a letter to him to bring Huang Xiang out. Tomorrow is the final exam. After the exam, we'll go to that pass. Tang Zheng returned to school to prepare for the final exam, but at this moment, the Yen family welcomed an uninvited guest. Yen Patian personally welcomed them at the entrance. It was extremely grand. Yen Qishan and Yen Luyun stood on his left and right, but Yen Qingyi was not present. Normally, she would be cultivating in the Taoist temple. Li Xiaotian strolled over. Her face was as calm as an ancient well. No one could see through her thoughts. Saintess, your presence brings light to my humble abode. Yan Padian greeted him with a smile. Logically speaking, with Li Xiaotian's cultivation, he would not be able to withstand such a huge battle formation from the Yan clan. However, she was the holy maiden of Li Palace, and if nothing unexpected happened, she would inherit the position of Palace Master of Li Palace in the future. Furthermore, the Yan family had always had a close relationship with Li Palace, so of course they would show the importance they deserved. Li Xiaotian nodded slightly, but did not say much. The guest and host passed through the layers of courtyards and arrived at the main hall to take their seats. Li Xiaotian went straight to the point. Elder Yan, I have something to trouble you with this time. Holy maiden, there's no harm in saying so. Yan family being able to share the burden of the Li Palace is our honor. Yan Padian said amiably. Help me kill Tang Zheng. Li Xiaotian said murderously. The 3 generations of the Yan family all revealed shocked expressions at the same time. Yan Padian hurriedly restrained the strange expression on his face and asked, could it be that this person provoked you, holy maiden? Li Xiaotian shook his head. This person will be a big problem in the future. We have to get rid of him before he spreads his wings. The Yan family had previously heeded Yan Qingyi's suggestion and intended to help Tang Zheng, but they had not expected that the Li Palace would actually make this decision, which was completely contrary to the Yan family's decision. Yan Qishan and Yan Liuyun's expressions were somewhat unnatural. This time, the Yan family was in a difficult situation. Yan Padian remained calm and said, Tang Zheng is no longer the same as before. Chu Chongyang has just been eliminated by him, and his morale is at its peak. I'm afraid this matter will not be easy to handle. Wrong. It was precisely because of his battle with Chu Chongyang that he was severely injured that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. However, right now, he is together with the martial sect, which is why it is somewhat difficult to handle. Li Xiaotian retorted. If the 12 palaces had not been completely destroyed, she would not have needed to ask the Yan family for help. At this moment, it was already too late to return to the Li Palace to get reinforcements. Moreover, if she did not complete this mission, she would definitely be reprimanded by the Asgard Master when she returned. How could she return empty-handed like this? The relationship between the Yan family and the Li Palace was not shallow. Asking the Yan family for help was giving them a chance. The Yan family would definitely seize this opportunity impatiently and deepen their relationship with the Li Palace. But unexpectedly, Yan Padian did not immediately agree. Instead, he became silent. Li Xiaotian looked at him in astonishment, and the atmosphere instantly became strange. You don't agree? Yan Padian did not comment, and said, Holy maiden, since you have no way to deal with him, what can we do? This was clearly an excuse, even a fool could hear it. Yan Qishan turned pale with fright, he did not expect his father to reject Li Xiaotian so firmly. This would definitely harm the relationship between the Yan family and the Li Palace. Father. Yan Qishan impatiently called out, wanting to remind his father. Yan Qishan purposely glanced at Yan Qishan. Yan Qishan's heart trembled, and he subconsciously kept quiet. Obviously, Yan Padian had already made up his mind. He actually did not hesitate to reject the request of the Li Palace and wholeheartedly protected Tang Zheng. This was truly a bold move. Yan Qishan fell into a state of panic. He did not know why his father would actually make such a huge bet because of an illusory prophecy in the future. Li Xiaotian's gaze was like lightning, he saw the father and son's reactions one by one. He was furious in his heart, and asked with a cold face, Are you purposely avoiding it? Yan Padian said with a fake smile, Holy Maiden's words are too serious, we really don't have the strength to catch him. Actually, I think that dealing with Tang Zheng, the Li Palace is still very easy, why bother with our help, don't you think so? I will tell your attitude to Asgard Mistress. She will judge for herself. Li Xiaotian never expected that he would be rejected here. Yen Padian sighed and said helplessly, our intentions towards the Li Palace will never change. I hope that Asgard mistress will know our painstaking efforts. She will naturally know. Your Yen family is really good, humph. Li Xiaotian stood up and walked out. Yen Qishan immediately followed, and said, Holy Maiden, I'll send you off. After the two of them left, Yen Luyun asked suspiciously, Grandfather, why did we reject the Li Palace's request? If we don't refuse, are we really going to send someone to kill Tang Zheng? Yen Padian asked as he looked at him with a burning gaze. Yen Liuyun's heart trembled. He knew that this was the old man testing him, but he was still unable to see through the old man's thoughts, so he probed, Grandfather, if we don't deal with Tang Zheng, then we will offend the Li Palace. This might not be a good deal, right? You said that even the holy maiden of the Li Palace had to seek help from the outside, and the Yen family rashly rushed forward. What benefits could they possibly gain? Yen Padian asked. This. It is indeed strange. If the Li Palace wants to deal with Tang Zheng, why would they need someone else's help? Yen Luyun revealed a puzzled expression. So, we have to use our brains and think about it. This matter is not as simple as it seems. Yen Potion's gaze was like a torch as he nodded his head and said. Yen Luyun seemed to be deep in thought. Yen Qishan walked back and asked anxiously, Father, why did you reject her? Was it really necessary to tie the Yen family and Tang Zheng together? This is offending the Li Palace, not as simple as offending the other families. Yen Padian shook his head and said, You are really muddle-headed. How can I be at ease and hand over this huge family to you in the future? However, Yen Qishan did not compromise and argued, Father, in any case, I don't understand this matter. At this time, befriending Tang Zheng is far more dangerous than rejecting the Li Palace. Yen Padian slapped the chair and shouted, short-sighted, let me ask you, what Tang Zheng did, which one of you can do it? Yen Qishan and Yen Luyun looked at each other in dismay, but they were unable to answer. They were indeed unable to do what Tang Zheng had done. But after doing all this, he became the target of public criticism. Now, even the Li Palace sees him as a thorn in their side. Yen Qishan reminded. Then do you remember what the Holy Maiden said just now? Tang Zheng and the martial sect were together. Although the martial sect hated cultivators to the bones, they obviously did not plan to deal with Tang Zheng. Furthermore, the intelligence showed that martial sect had always been in contact with Tang Zheng. This showed the martial sect's attitude towards Tang Zheng. For a cultivator to be able to make the martial sect have such an attitude, do you think it's simple? Yen Padian asked with a powerful voice. Yen Qishan was speechless. After a long while, he said unwillingly, but it wasn't easy for us to get on the Li Palace's good side. Now, it seems that all our previous efforts will be ruined. Yen Padian let out a long sigh, and said, if you gain something, you will definitely lose something. I have a feeling that Qing Yi's prophecy might really be correct. Yen Qishan's heart skipped a beat. If that prophecy was true, then Tang Zheng would save tens of thousands of people from water and fire in the future. It was hard to imagine what kind of turmoil would occur in the world. In short, pay close attention to the situation in the capital. Last night, even demonic beasts appeared. Although the officials have already refuted the rumors, I feel that the day when cultivators truly enter the eyes of the public is not far away. Yen Padian analyzed. Regarding the strange phenomenon in the sky last night, the officials had released a rumor early in the morning, saying that it was the special effects of a film company shooting a movie and not some ferocious beast. Furthermore, the video on the internet had been completely deleted. Although it was still a hot topic, the situation had been temporarily under control. Just as Tang Zheng returned to school, Yi Tianlei's call came, asking about Tang Zheng's situation. Tang Zheng also mentioned the matter of him being betrayed last night. After hearing this, Yi Tianlei was extremely furious, and swore that he would definitely go and settle the score with Yi Tianming. Regarding this, Tang Zheng did not hold much hope, nor did he expect to be able to do anything to Yi Tianming. Moreover, Tang Zheng had too many things to do right now, so he did not have the time to deal with him for the time being. Hearing that Tang Zheng was safe and sound under the King of Medicine's treatment, Tang Zheng was relieved. However, when he heard that the King of Medicine was still in the Ye family, he had an idea and asked Yi Tianlei to tell the King of Medicine to come to Yenqing University for a chat. He believed that this old man would definitely keep the appointment. Sure enough, in the afternoon, the King of Medicine found him. Although the King of Medicine already knew about Tang Zheng's identity as a cultivator, he did not take it to heart at all. What he cared about was the problems in medicine. As for other disputes, he did not care about them at all. Therefore, he gladly accepted Tang Zheng's invitation. There was too much medical knowledge on Tang Zheng that he wanted to know. For example, the life-continuing pill was a secret that he wanted to know. King of Medicine, I want to ask you for a favor. Tang Zheng said straightforwardly, I want to sell the life-continuing pill. The life-continuing pill was too magical. If Tang Zheng directly sold it to the public, many people would doubt its authenticity. However, if the King of Medicine handled this matter, no one would doubt that his authority in this area was much stronger than Tang Zheng's. Moreover, the King of Medicine knew too many people who needed this thing and could afford it, so he had to be the middleman. Chapter 475. The King of Medicine never forgot about the life-continuing pill. When he heard that Tang Zheng wanted to sell the life-continuing pill, he immediately said, Can I buy one first? If it was before, he definitely wouldn't believe that there was such a miraculous medicine like the life-continuing pill in this world, but he saw with his own eyes the miracle of the life-continuing pill on Yi Xuanji and Nana, so of course he wouldn't doubt it. On the contrary, he couldn't wait to research this miraculous medicine and figure out how it works. Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh. He guessed what he was thinking and generously said, I can give one to you. Really? The King of Medicine opened his eyes wide in disbelief. His breathing couldn't help but quicken. If he had such a miraculous medicine, he would definitely be able to research a lot more valuable things. Of course it's real. One life-continuing pill can extend one's life by 10 years. Why do you want to sell such a precious thing? The King of Medicine asked strangely. This miraculous medicine is of course treasured. How can it be sold so casually? To raise money. Tang Zheng said truthfully. Raise money? The King of Medicine heard this answer and was dumbfounded. The King of Medicine has saved countless people in his life, not only high officials, but also ordinary people, but he didn't ask for too much money. He was only interested in the art of qi and huang, and money was just a worldly possession to him. It was just a condition to ensure his livelihood, it was not a necessity. So, he couldn't understand why Tang Zheng would use a miraculous medicine like the life-continuing pill to exchange for money. I still have some money, if you need it, I'll give it to you. The King of Medicine said warmly. Tang Zheng smiled and said, The money I need is not a little bit, but hundreds of millions. What do you need so much money for? For business. The King of Medicine bitterly shook his head and said, I don't understand you young people, I'm only interested in medical matters. But, the life-continuing pill is a priceless treasure, there is no market for it, so there will definitely be people willing to pay for it. I don't know much about this. How can we increase the price of the life-continuing pill? Tang Zheng humbly asked. Nothing is precious when there are too many of them, and this is especially true for the life-prolonging pill. If you sell it like normal pills, you won't be able to fully display the value of the life-prolonging pill. You might even be tarnishing this godly medicine. The King of Medicine explained. Tang Zheng secretly nodded his head. The rarer something was, the more valuable it was. This sentence was true everywhere. Of course you can't sell such a precious item casually. Besides, you're trying to raise money, so the highest bidder should get it. An auction is a good choice. Auction? Tang Zheng couldn't help but recall the auction in the ordinary balance courtyard. He had obtained the 9 revolving pill furnace from that auction. That's right. In a few days, there will be a high-end auction in the capital. I have some connections with the organizer of the auction, so I can let them handle this. The King of Medicine said confidently. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. That would be the best. I'm really grateful to you. If the King of Medicine didn't personally endorse the life-prolonging pill, there would definitely be many people who would question its authenticity. Moreover, Yi Xuanji and Nana wouldn't be able to explain the miraculous effects of the life-prolonging pill, so the value of the life-prolonging pill would be greatly reduced. But it was different now. Those rich and powerful people would definitely scramble like ducks and fight over it with all their might. The King of Medicine smiled and said, I should be thanking you. You let me see this godly medicine in my lifetime. Moreover, you gave me one. I don't even know what to use to exchange it with you. Since it's a gift to you, there's no need to exchange it. Then I'll accept it. But, I have a question. If I don't ask, I won't be happy. How many life-prolonging pills do you actually have? How many do you think should be auctioned? Tang Zheng asked back. The King of Medicine's pupils shrunk as he heard the hidden meaning in those words, 10 is the best. From what I hear you say, you have quite a few of these things. Or perhaps you don't even need to worry about the amount of life-prolonging pills. Tang Zheng smiled reservedly and nodded his head under the King of Medicine's stunned gaze. Could it be that this godly medicine can be mass-produced? The King of Medicine's heart already jumped to his throat as he asked in disbelief. It can't be mass-produced, but the amount is definitely not small. The life-prolonging pill may be difficult for others, but it isn't too difficult for me. Tang Zheng replied. Then how many do you have right now? I don't have a single one. Could it be that you don't have any in stock? Of course, the life-prolonging pill is still missing an ingredient called the heaven-fragrant flower. I don't know where to find it. Tang Zheng temporarily did not have the time to return to ordinary Balance Mountain to find the heaven-fragrant flower. The King of Medicine's eyes suddenly lit up as he said, Heaven-fragrant flower, you're saying that the life-prolonging pill's ingredient is the heaven-fragrant flower? Why didn't I think that the heaven-fragrant flower would have such a miraculous effect? The King of Medicine impatiently wanted to obtain a life-prolonging pill to study, so he said, I can help you get the heaven-fragrant flower as long as you quickly refine the life-prolonging pill. Tang Zheng was overjoyed at the unexpected good news. He originally wanted to go to the famous mountains near the capital to take a look and see if he could find the heaven-fragrant flower. He never thought that after searching high and low for it, he would find it without any effort. The King of Medicine was actually able to get him a lot of heaven-fragrant flowers. Then the problem of refining the life-prolonging pill would be easily solved. Ancient books have recorded the various uses of the heaven-fragrant flower. Because of this, one time I accidentally found a few dozen stalks of heaven-fragrant flower. I transplanted them into my medicinal garden, but I never found a use for the heaven-fragrant flower. I never thought that all of this was in preparation for the present. The King of Medicine rambled on. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that this was really too convenient for him. It would be impolite to refuse. Can I come and observe how you refine the life-prolonging pill? The King of Medicine asked with a bashful face. You provided the heaven-fragrant flower, so of course you can come and observe. Tang Zheng did not hide anything. He was also not afraid that the King of Medicine would learn it. This was because the average person would not be able to learn it. This was his unique alchemy technique. Even other cultivators may not be able to completely understand his alchemy technique. The King of Medicine danced with joy. He was so happy that he was like an old child. His excitement was overflowing with words. Then can we begin now? There isn't enough time today. Since you have the heaven-fragrant flower, then you should also prepare the other ingredients. Tang Zheng did not hide anything and directly told the King of Medicine all of the ingredients for the life-prolonging pill, asking him to prepare them. After listening to the complete prescription for the life-prolonging pill, the King of Medicine gasped for breath. He could not stop his heart from beating wildly. He had the illusion that he was about to suffocate. This prescription was a priceless treasure. The King of Medicine stared at the prescription with shining eyes. He looked at it again and again, as if he wanted to firmly engrave it in his mind. After a long time, the King of Medicine reluctantly put the prescription into his pocket and finally let out a sigh of relief. The King of Medicine was very grateful towards Tang Zheng's magnanimous action. He also admired Tang Zheng from the bottom of his heart. This made him even more determined to make Tang Zheng's auction perfect. In fact, Tang Zheng certainly knew that this prescription was extraordinary. However, without the assistance of true energy and true fire, the ingredients would still be the same. They would not have much effect. It was impossible for an ordinary person to replicate it. I can prepare these ingredients immediately. When will you start refining? 2 days later. I have to take the final exam in 2 days. Okay, I will definitely be ready in 2 days. I will leave first. Seeing the King of Medicine leave in such a hurry, Tang Zheng's face curved. It seemed that the money Mu Hongyan and the others needed was solved. In the next 2 days, Tang Zheng was completely immersed in the final exam. Yanqing University was full of talents, and there was no lack of geniuses. Of course, he could not be careless. However, his ability to sharpen his spear at the last minute was extraordinary. Therefore, after a few rounds of exams, he felt very good about himself. After leaving the examination room, he was surrounded by the members of room 502. The winter vacation was coming soon. Everyone had to go home and find their mothers. Before leaving, they organized a dinner party. There were a lot of people at this dinner party. Except for Yi Dingdang, who was still recuperating at home, the members of room 502 and Yi Dingdang's roommates, and even Feng Yong from another school were called. As soon as Feng Yong saw Tang Zheng, he could not wait to shout. He hugged Tang Zheng and shouted, "Boss, did you abandon me? I haven't seen you since I came back from Dianan. I miss you so much." When the others saw this, they laughed. "Lao San, you two are gay. Do you want us to leave for a while?" "Go, you guys are gay. Boss and I have the purest friendship," Feng Yong retorted. However, Li Fangfei had a different opinion. "Feng Yong, did you do something to let Hao Dan down recently that made her angry? I see that she's been sulking all day." The moment these words came out, everyone's attention was attracted to Feng Yong. Sinosaurus hugged Feng Yong's shoulder and chuckled. "Feng Yong, you can't have gone outside to attract bees and butterflies, right? Amazing, you're preparing to be on par with Lao San." Tang Zheng rolled his eyes speechlessly. What did he mean by, on par with him? He was really being shot even when he was lying down. "Feng Yong, our Hao Dan is so cute. I don't know how many people are chasing after her, but she rejected them all and focused on you. If you dare to attract bees and butterflies outside, we will definitely not let you off," Li Fangfei said indignantly. Feng Yong shouted with a face full of bitterness, "I'm wronged. I'm even more wronged than Do Yi. I'm wholeheartedly devoted to Hao Dan. Furthermore, I'm so busy every day that my feet don't touch the ground. How would I have the time to attract bees and butterflies? Then why is Hao Dan so sulking all day? Hao Dan, you tell us, what bad things did he do? Today, we'll be the judge for you," Li Fangfei said aggressively. Tang Zheng's interest was piqued. From his point of view, Feng Yong was not a half-hearted person. Furthermore, this concerned the happiness of his brothers, so he could not be careless. Thus, he said, "Hao Dan, tell us the truth. We'll be the judge for you." Feng Yong saw that Tang Zheng also said the same thing and cried out that he was wronged. However, after being glared at by Tang Zheng, he obediently lowered his head. Hao Dan glanced at Feng Yong and hesitated for a long time before saying shyly, "He often goes to those shady places." Shady places? Everyone was dumbstruck. Wang Shiji exclaimed. "Feng Yong, you can't be going to the brothels and looking for women to discuss their physiological problems, right?" Sinosaurus cried out. "Feng Yong, Hao Dan is so beautiful. You actually went to those places when you have such a beautiful girlfriend. Is there something wrong with your head? Li Fangfei and Lu Xian's faces flashed with embarrassment as they scolded him. Feng Yong, you are indeed not attracting bees and butterflies. However, this problem is more serious. Do you know? Are you worthy of Hao Dan? I'm not. Feng Yong shouted, his face and ears turning red. You must believe me. How can I be that kind of person? Boss, we've known each other for so long. You must believe me. Chapter 476. Looking at Feng Yong's flushed face and anxious expression, Tang Zheng advised, I still believe in Feng Yong. There must be a misunderstanding here. Everything will be fine after we clear things up. What's there to say about going to those places? Hao Dan, did you see him go there with your own eyes? Hao Dan's eyes were red as she nodded gently. He didn't just go to one place. He went to many places. Hao Dan, you've really misunderstood me. Yes, I've been to a lot of sex shops and even some red light districts, but I haven't done anything bad. I went there for work. Feng Yong defended himself. Work? Everyone was dumbfounded. Li Fangfei snorted, work? What kind of place is the red light district? Do you think we don't know? Isn't your explanation a little too unreasonable? Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat as he guessed the reason. He couldn't help but reveal a relieved smile as he waved his hand, indicating for everyone to calm down. I think I know what's going on. Feng Yong really didn't do anything bad. I also believe that he didn't do anything to let Hao Dan down. He really went there for work. Ah! Everyone turned pale with fright as they looked at Tang Zheng in disbelief. Fatty, don't hide it anymore. Tell everyone the truth. Tang Zheng advised. Feng Yong stuttered for a long time before saying, all right, I'll tell you the truth. But let me tell you, don't laugh at me if you hear it. Otherwise, I'll ignore you guys in the future. Let's see what kind of flowers you can come up with. Li Fangfei said in disbelief. Hao Dan also looked at Feng Yong with resentment and pouted her lips. I went there to do market research. I went to many sex toy stores and even the red light district to research the market situation of sex toys. Because these places are the most direct consumers of these products, they have a direct guiding effect. Feng Yong mustered up his courage and said. Sex products. This was a topic that even married people would try to avoid, let alone these university students. The few girls' cheeks instantly turned red as they spat and said hatefully, you still say you didn't do anything bad. How can you be a good person if you blindly think about this all day? You're being wrongly accused. Feng Yong pulled a long face. You can ask the boss. My family produces sex toys. My dad has been asking me to investigate the market situation in Beijing. Isn't the holiday coming soon? If I don't do some research, how can I report back to Dad? Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh and said, Fatty, this is what you get for not telling Hao Dan clearly in advance. If you had told Hao Dan clearly, would there still be so many misunderstandings? I was afraid she would misunderstand, so I didn't tell her. I didn't think she would find out. Feng Yong said dejectedly. When the others saw that Feng Yong did not seem to be lying, they asked in surprise, Feng Yong, is your family really in this business? Of course. Don't be fooled by Fatty's low profile. Let me tell you, he is a rich second generation. His family is very rich, Tang Zheng joked. Sinosaurus grabbed Feng Yong's shoulder and laughed loudly, we always talk about rich second generation. So there is a ready-made one beside us. Rich second generation student, do you want to bleed a bit and treat us commoners to a meal? Feng Yong was a bit embarrassed as he scratched his head and said, my family is just doing a small business. But your family's business is too special. The few girls said embarrassedly. There's no other way. My dad went into this business back then. It's impossible for him to change careers. Don't look at this business. It doesn't sound good, but the profits are great. Feng Yong's eyes gradually lit up like a profiteer promoting his family's business. Okay, don't say any more. Can't eating shut your mouth? How Dan was a girl after all. Her face was bright red as she picked up a piece of fat and stuffed it into Feng Yong's mouth. Feng Yong laughed and scratched his head. He quickly swallowed it and said, I won't say any more. Eat, eat. But you shouldn't go too often. If other students see you, it won't be good. How Dan said. I won't go in the future. This research is already over. I can go home and report back. Feng Yong said cheerfully. Aya, let's talk about something happy. Let me tell you, my hometown is in the northeast. The winter there is beautiful. It's a world of ice and snow. What is called the northern scenery? Thousands of miles of snow. You will know when you go to my hometown. Sinosaurus immediately livened up the atmosphere and talked about his hometown. It's winter. It's too cold. Who would go? It'll freeze people to death. There's heating. What's there to be afraid of? Moreover, there are many mysterious legends in my hometown. In the past few years, there have been many plots about my hometown. So many people have gone there to explore. Oh, what kind of mysterious legends do you have there? Tang Zheng casually asked. Have you heard of shamans? Sinosaurus asked mysteriously. Isn't it just dancing? I heard that the Northeast has a lot of these kinds of swindlers. Several people said disapprovingly. Sinosaurus curled his lips and said, dancing is mostly a lie. But shamans are different. I heard from the elders in the village that shamans can really invite gods to possess their bodies and thus have all kinds of magical powers. Have you seen it before? I would like to see it, but I don't have the opportunity. Sinosaurus said disappointedly. Tang Zheng's heart moved. Could it be that shaman techniques were also related to cultivators? However, Sinosaurus didn't know too many details and also had no way to verify it. Everyone chatted and laughed. When the meal ended, some people directly boarded the train home. The campus suddenly became deserted. Tang Zheng wasn't in a hurry to leave. He first went to Lu Qingmei's house to see Nana and Lu Qingmei. He made an appointment with Nana to bring her back to ordinary balance to see her mother in a few days. Then, he went to the King of Medicine's medicinal garden in the suburbs. The King of Medicine had already been waiting for a long time. When he saw Tang Zheng, he hurriedly welcomed him in. There were usually a few medicine farmers in the medicinal garden, but the King of Medicine had already temporarily asked them to leave. This was because refining the life-continuing pill was an important matter. Unrelated people must stay away. Come take a look. This is the heavenly fragrant flower. Is it enough to refine 10 life-continuing pills? The King of Medicine pointed at the 10 delicate little flowers in the medicinal garden and asked. It's more than enough. In the past, one heavenly fragrant flower was able to refine 3 life-continuing pills. Now that Tang Zheng's cultivation was higher and his attainments in alchemy were deeper, one heavenly fragrant flower should be able to refine more life-continuing pills. The King of Medicine let out a sigh of relief and happily said, That's good. I have already prepared according to your request. Please. In a quiet secret room, the King of Medicine stared at the 9 revolving pill furnace that appeared out of thin air. His heart couldn't help but fiercely beat. This was a new field that he had never encountered before. The nervousness and excitement in his heart was indescribable. Tang Zheng was familiar with the process. His finger pointed at the 9 revolving pill furnace and a ball of true fire flew into the furnace and wrapped around the herbs. In an instant, the essence of the medicinal herbs was refined and turned into a ball of water droplets. The King of Medicine's mouth almost fell to the ground. This was alchemy. It was completely different from his understanding of alchemy. This method was much faster and more mysterious. The King of Medicine's mouth was bitter. He gradually understood how unrealistic it was for him to want to learn alchemy. There was no way for him to replicate such a method. Even the spell of true fire left him in the dust. Tang Zheng calmed himself down and concentrated on refining the pills. He casually tossed the 3 heavenly fragrant flowers into the 9 revolving pill furnace. A strange fragrance instantly filled the entire secret chamber. The 9 revolving pill furnace quickly rotated. The carvings on the furnace were very lifelike. It was too much for the eyes to take in. Traces of spiritual energy poured into the furnace from all directions. This is too magical. The king of medicine finally couldn't help but mutter to himself. Actually, as long as you know the principle, it's not that difficult. Tang Zheng said with a smile. It's really not difficult for those who know, but those who don't know. Everyone treats the life-continuing pill as a godly medicine. I never thought that the refining process would be so simple. The king of medicine sighed. The corners of Tang Zheng's mouth rose as he smiled. After a long time, the 9 revolving pill furnaces' rotational speed slowed down. The dazzling true fire was also extinguished. Inside the 9 revolving pill furnace, a dense fog rose up. It was impossible to see the exact situation inside the furnace. This was a scene that didn't occur last time. It was clear that Tang Zheng's alchemy skills had improved. Tang Zheng's face lit up with joy. Even though he hadn't seen the real result, he could already smell the refreshing fragrance inside the furnace. Just a light sniff would make him feel as if he was floating in the air. This time the life-continuing pill's quality is even higher. I'm afraid it won't just extend life by 10 years. Tang Zheng pondered. Is it done? The king of medicine nervously asked. Tang Zheng nodded. With a wave of his hand, a gust of wind blew into the furnace. The dense fog dissipated and the scene inside the furnace was revealed. 15 life-continuing pills were quietly lying at the bottom of the furnace. This was the king of medicine's first time seeing the life-continuing pill. His breathing involuntarily quickened as his eyes stared straight at the life-continuing pill. He cried out in surprise, "I've finally seen it. I've finally seen the life-continuing pill." Seeing his crazed appearance, Tang Zheng couldn't help but laugh. He took out the life-continuing pill and gave 11 to the king of medicine. He said, "These are for you. 10 of them will be auctioned and the other one is for you." The king of medicine stood there in a daze, forgetting to react. Tang Zheng directly used a small bottle to store the life-continuing pill and placed it in the king of medicine's palm. He said, "Take it. Don't be in a daze. The life-continuing pill can only be refined this way. Normal methods cannot be done. A miracle. This is a miracle." The king of medicine's lips trembled as he spoke intermittently. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he stared straight at Tang Zheng. "I've lived for most of my life and thought that I had already made some achievements in the field of medicine. Now I understand that I was just a frog in a well. This is the way I've always dreamed of." After pausing for a moment, the king of medicine's eyes became even more passionate. Tang Zheng felt as if he was looking at a great beauty and couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 477. Even though Tang Zheng had been calm for a long time, when he saw this scene, he was really shocked. He subconsciously took 2 steps back and asked, "King of medicine, what are you doing? Get up quickly." The king of medicine looked determined and did not move. He said, "Tang Zheng, I want to be your apprentice and ask you to teach me the art of alchemy." Tang Zheng was stunned. The king of medicine actually wanted to be his apprentice. No one would believe it if he said it. The king of medicine was already the top figure in the country, but he wanted to be Tang Zheng's apprentice. This would probably be the most explosive news in the circle. Looking at his burning and determined eyes, Tang Zheng instantly understood his thoughts. The king of medicine was a person with a pure mind. He tirelessly pursued the way of curing diseases and saving people, so he did not hesitate to be Tang Zheng's apprentice. Tang Zheng quickly grabbed the king of medicine's arm and gently lifted it. The king of medicine did not want to get up, but he was lifted up by a strong force. The king of medicine quickly said, "I'm serious. I really want to be your apprentice. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He said, don't make it difficult for me. If I knew you would do this, I would have asked you for help. No, this is what I really want. Please help me. But you have been famous for a long time. If I take you as my apprentice, won't it make the world laugh and laugh at me? It will also damage your reputation. Tang Zheng persuaded earnestly. The king of medicine did not appreciate it and said, what's the use of that false reputation? What I seek is profound medical skills, not undeserved fame. Seeing that he was so stubborn, Tang Zheng took out his trump card and said in a deep voice, you also know that I am a cultivator, and this is the world of martial artists. In this world, you don't know how many people want to take my life. The Chu family, the Song family, and even the Ye family are all eyeing me covetously. They can't wait to eat me alive. If you worship me as your teacher, you will only bring disaster to yourself. So what if it's a monk-killing disaster? As the ancient saying goes, if one hears the Tao in the morning, one can die in the evening. As long as he could learn alchemy, so what if he became a cultivator? Moreover, I believe that the distinction between cultivators and martial artists in this world is superfluous. There are thousands of different kinds of people, and it is impossible to make everyone the same. Therefore, whether it is society or individuals, they should be tolerant, and cultivators and martial artists are the most feasible way. Hearing the king of medicine's eloquent words, Tang Zheng's face became serious. These words undoubtedly expressed his inner thoughts. The fundamental reason why Tang Zheng was unwilling to let cultivators return to this world was that cultivators and martial artists were not compatible. A great war was bound to break out between the two sides, and at that time, many people would lose their lives. He often wondered why the two sides could not coexist. This was his point of view as a contemporary. He was a person who started cultivating halfway, and from the beginning to the end, he had never been instilled with the idea that cultivators and martial artists were incompatible. Therefore, his mentality was the most tolerant. King of medicine, are you really not afraid that after becoming a cultivator, you will be ostracized and hunted down? Tang Zheng asked particularly seriously. The king of medicine shook his head firmly, of course not, I am willing to become a cultivator. This was the first time a martial artist was willing to become a cultivator. The king of medicine's martial arts cultivation was not weak, and if he practiced magic, it would definitely be very difficult. Unexpectedly, the king of medicine still did not care, and said confidently, in my life, the one thing I am least afraid of is difficulty. The more difficult it is, the more I will face it. Master, please accept a bow from your disciple. Saying this, he broke free from his hands, and with a plop, knelt in front of Tang Zheng. Without waiting for Tang Zheng to object, he directly kowtowed 3 times, which could be considered the ceremony of becoming a disciple. Tang Zheng wanted to refuse, but it was too late. In the beginning, the king of medicine wanted to accept him as a disciple and teach him medicine. Who would have thought that at this moment, the two people's identities would be swapped? Tang Zheng was not a wishy-washy person. Since the conditions were right, then he would let nature take its course, and said, since you insist, then I will no longer refuse. I will teach you the art of alchemy, but before that, you must first practice a cultivation technique. When you reach the 3rd grade refining qi, then you can refine pills. The king of medicine was extremely excited, and hurriedly nodded, I will definitely work hard to practice. Master, please check on me at any time. Hearing him call him master, Tang Zheng still could not get used to it, and still felt a little awkward. It must be known that the king of medicine was old enough to be his grandfather, but now he had actually become his disciple. If Tang Dahai knew about this, he would definitely reprimand him for being absurd and reckless. Since he had taken in a cheap disciple, Tang Zheng could not just take the good name, he also had to give the other person benefits. Thus, he organized a cultivation technique for the king of medicine to practice. Other than the ancient clear heaven scroll, Tang Zheng only knew the cloud water technique that Fang Shishir practiced. The cloud water technique was a technique that was specially made for women. It was too feminine and was not suitable for the king of medicine. At the moment, he did not have a suitable method, so Tang Zheng only organized a set of techniques based on the ancient Clear Heaven scroll. It was not very powerful, and could only be considered a beginner. In the future, when he found a suitable technique, he would pass it on to the king of medicine. Generally, when acknowledging a master, of course, a gift would be given. Tang Zheng pondered for a moment. He did not have any extra treasures, and other than the life-continuing pill, there was nothing else that he could take out. Thus, he simply gave the remaining 4 life-continuing pills to the king of medicine. This is a meeting gift for you. Remember, you can only eat 1 at a time. Too much is harmful. Tang Zheng warned. The king of medicine nervously said, "Master, this is too precious. I cannot accept it." King of medicine, since you have already acknowledged me as your master, then you have to listen to my orders, right? I order you to accept it. Tang Zheng firmly said. The king of medicine was suddenly startled. He could only accept the 4 life-continuing pills. However, he could not hide the expression on his face. Tang Zheng believed that he would definitely carefully study the life-continuing pills, but Tang Zheng did not mind. Master, the auction is in 3 days. When the time comes, you should also go. The king of medicine said. Okay. Tang Zheng also wanted to personally see what kind of price the life-continuing pills could fetch. Thus, he gladly agreed. Tang Zheng left. This trip could be considered an unexpected harvest. Although it was unexpected, Tang Zheng threw this matter to the back of his mind in the blink of an eye. If it was anyone else, they would probably be so excited that they would not be able to sleep. He discovered that his personality and mentality had imperceptibly undergone many great changes. Normal people would think that things were impossible or unimaginable, but he was able to calmly accept them. For example, this time's apprenticeship. The sky gradually darkened. Tang Zheng had already left the capital and disappeared into the boundless mountain range. To the north of the capital was a natural moat. In ancient times, it was a place that military strategists would fight for. If the ethnic minorities outside the pass wanted to enter the pass, they would have to enter through this natural moat. Thus, every few years, there would be a series of battles here. There would be countless deaths and injuries. It was said that there were several graves near this pass. In ancient times, prisoners of war would not receive the same treatment as they do in modern times. They would often be subjected to inhumane torture and even be buried alive. Tens of thousands of people being buried alive. This scene, just thinking about it made one's scalp numb. When Tang Zheng approached the pass, because of the mountain range, it was dark all year round. In addition, it was currently evening, so he could clearly feel the cold wind blowing in from all directions. The yin qi is dense. No wonder Tian Chanzi chose to raise Huang Xiang here. Tang Zheng secretly nodded. On both sides of this pass were tall mountains. Between the 2 mountains was a wide road overgrown with weeds. It was a scene of decline. Thinking back to the past, this place must have been extraordinarily noisy and heavily guarded. Tang Zheng walked step by step. It was as if he had returned to the era of golden spears and armored horses. Sounds of battle rang in his ears. No! Tang Zheng stopped in his tracks. This was not an illusion. His ears really rang with the sound of battle, as if he was really in an ancient battlefield. A chilly wind blew from the end of the road, swirling up the dust. The weeds on the ground rustled and whipped at the rocks on the side, making strange sounds. Sigh, if the War Soul Sword was here, and the War Soul Sword absorbed the yin qi, its strength would definitely increase greatly. I wonder how the War Soul Sword is now in the hands of the martial sect leader. Tang Zheng muttered regretfully. Da-da-da, the sound of horse hooves suddenly rang out, and the cold wind blew. At the end of the road, there was a black mass, and the sky had unknowingly become completely dark, without a trace of moonlight. A ball of true fire rose from Tang Zheng's palm and floated in front of Tang Zheng, illuminating the surroundings. Kill! Under the order, the black mass surged and rushed towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not retreat. Instead, he quickly rushed out and attacked with an iron fist. Bang! An explosion sounded out in the air, and the black shadows had already rushed in front of him. They were hundreds and thousands of tall horses, and on top of the horses were armored soldiers. Ghost soldiers, ghost generals, these are all transformed from the souls of the soldiers who died in battle. If an ordinary person were to meet them, they would definitely be scared silly or even die. But you guys just had to meet me. Consider it your bad luck. Tang Zheng's iron fist smashed into the front of the enemy's warhorse. With a miserable cry, the warhorse turned into ashes, and the ghost soldier on the warhorse raised his spear and pierced towards Tang Zheng's chest. Tang Zheng's hand was as fast as lightning, he grabbed the spear and shook it fiercely, causing the ghost soldier to be sent flying. Tang Zheng held the spear in his hand and swept it out, like an angry dragon emerging from the sea. A large number of ghost soldiers on the warhorse turned into yin qi and dissipated. Although the enemy had the advantage in numbers, it was still a piece of cake for Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's cultivation was much higher than theirs. The number of yin soldiers gradually decreased, but not a single one of them ran away. Instead, they continued to attack, as if they wanted to use a war of attrition to exhaust Tang Zheng to death. Tang Zheng began a massacre, step by step, leaving behind traces of dense yin qi. When Tang Zheng was about to reach the end of the road, there were not many enemies left. Seeing that victory was in sight, suddenly a roar exploded, and a black shadow flew over, like a rock spreading its wings, descended from the sky, and attacked Tang Zheng without hesitation. "Kill!" the black shadow shouted. Bang! Chapter 478. Seeing the black shadow pouncing towards him with a shocking aura, Tang Zheng bellowed, his big hand drew a circle in the air, and used the heaven-swallowing technique. The black shadow's attack was completely devoured by the heaven-swallowing technique. Tang Zheng soared into the air, his fingers closed together, using his hand as a sword, he pierced towards the black shadow's eyes. The black shadow flipped backwards and dodged the attack, while Tang Zheng's hand directly pierced into the mountain wall, causing stone fragments to fly everywhere. The black shadow flipped his hands and a ghost head blade appeared in his hands. Whoosh! The ghost head blade slashed downwards, opening and closing wide, it was exceptionally tyrannical. Tang Zheng blocked the ghost head blade with one move, while his other hand used the heaven-flying immortal sword technique, accurately stabbing into his opponent's body. Ding! Sparks flew, and the sound of metal striking stone suddenly rang out. The black shadow's body was actually as hard as a boulder, and was not damaged in the slightest. Tang Zheng was someone who had cultivated the chaotic Vajra spell before, so he understood very well how difficult it was for the body to reach such a level of toughness. The black shadow only retreated slightly after taking a blow, and the ghost head blade in his hand chopped down. Heaven falls and earth rends. Since the other party was not a good person, Tang Zheng did not hold back anymore. Using his hand as a sword, he used the fourth move of the heaven-flying immortal. Degrees Celsius because bang. The ghost head blade was sent flying by this attack, and Tang Zheng's finger cut a large hole in the black shadow's chest, forcing the black shadow to stop. Huang Xiang. Tang Zheng finally saw the black shadow's face clearly, it was actually the Huang Xiang he was looking for. His cultivation was much higher than the last time they met in the capital, he was at least at the third stage of the Anidia stage, which was equivalent to the third stage of the pre-celestial stage. In addition, Huang Xiang's body was much stronger than an ordinary person's, and his fighting strength would far surpass that of a pre-celestial stage martial artist. Huang Xiang no longer had any intelligence, so his attack just now was instinctive, so Tang Zheng immediately formed a few seals with his hands and slapped them into his mind. This way, he would listen to Tang Zheng's orders. Sure enough, the restless Huang Xiang immediately calmed down, and obediently stood beside Tang Zheng like a kitten. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh, and said with emotion, Tian Chanzi is really powerful, putting him in this place, his cultivation has actually increased by so much in such a short period of time. Let's leave this damned place. Tang Zheng looked around. Huang Xiang, Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng. He, Tang Zheng, did not like to stay in this gloomy place. 3 days later, the auction would be held in one of the best auction centers in the capital. This auction gathered many rich people from all walks of life, and the scale of the auction was so high that it was rarely seen in the past years. At this moment, the King of Medicine was standing at the entrance of the auction center, looking forward. There were many people who recognized him standing around, and they were all guessing who was worth the King of Medicine waiting for. Many rich people eagerly ran up to greet the King of Medicine, looking forward to the day when they needed the King of Medicine's help. The King of Medicine was obviously absent-minded, and did not care about the flattery of these rich people. Suddenly, a young man walked over, surrounded by a myriad of stars. This man had red lips, white teeth, and a handsome appearance. As soon as he appeared, he attracted the attention of many women, and there were even some who directly threw flirtatious glances at him. But he acted as if he did not see it, and strode towards the King of Medicine, and said respectfully, "Senior King of Medicine, hello." The King of Medicine glanced at the other party, nodded at the other party reservedly, and said, "Song Yu, did the Song family send you this time?" "Yes, my father is busy with other business, and I have always been interested in novel things, so I came to look for treasures." Song Yu said with a warm smile on her face, "After the auction, if Senior King of Medicine has time, this junior will treat you to dinner." "We'll see." The King of Medicine said expressionlessly. Song Yu did not mind, and nodded. While they were talking, the other two people also arrived and went straight to the King of Medicine. Both of them had modest smiles on their faces. "Senior King of Medicine, I didn't expect you to come to the auction this time. If there is any panacea, please reveal it in advance and let us broaden our horizons." Yan Luyun laughed heartily, but did not lose his respect. Yiku also nodded and said hello. The King of Medicine said, "The Yan family and the Ye family also came, and they are all the elites of the third generation. It seems that several of your families have let you come out to experience. In the past, at this kind of auction, the second generation of several families would be present. This time, they sent them without prior consultation. It seems that they are determined to focus on training these third generation. Hey, why is there one person missing? Is there no one from the Chu family?" The King of Medicine asked casually. "Something happened in the Xiaofeng family, and they can't get away for the time being." Song Yu explained. "Oh, I remember, Chu Chongyang is dead, and the Chu family must have become a pot of porridge." The King of Medicine and the Chu family's relationship was not very good, so he said without any scruples. Several people smiled bitterly, but it was not easy to answer. "Just now, you said that you wanted to see the panacea. This time, you came to the right place," the King of Medicine said. Several people were a little excited and asked, "Is there really a panacea?" In the past, the King of Medicine would also take out some medicinal pills to auction. These medicinal pills had the effect of conditioning the body and mind and prolonging life. Even so, they were the target of many rich people. "Of course there is, and it is definitely beyond your imagination," the King of Medicine vowed. The few of them were skeptical, but the Medicine King never boasted. Since he was so confident, then this thing should be 80 to 90% accurate. Several people gradually became excited and secretly made up their minds to bid for this panacea later. Seeing that the King of Medicine was still looking into the distance from time to time, Song Yu asked, "Senior King of Medicine, are you waiting for someone?" The King of Medicine nodded. Several people looked at each other. Who on earth was so important that the King of Medicine came to greet them in person? It should be known that in the past, it was others who waited for the King of Medicine. They were not in a hurry to leave, and they were ready to see who it was. Suddenly, the King of Medicine showed an excited look and quickly walked down the stairs. Several people's hearts skipped a beat, and they hurriedly looked in the direction of the footsteps. They saw two people strolling towards them. The three of them were dumbstruck. It was as if they had been immobilized. They couldn't move at all. How can it be Tang Zheng? The person next to him is the mysterious master who appeared at the Yen family's birthday banquet. Why is the king of medicine so enthusiastic? Song Yu's heart set off stormy waves. Yen Luyun and Yika's thoughts were also similar. After Yen Luyun was shocked, he quickly walked towards Tang Zheng, while Song Yu and Yika stood on the spot. The king of medicine looked at Huang Xiang in surprise. He was deeply impressed by this person. When he was in ordinary balance, he also came to assassinate Tang Zheng. If the king of medicine did not sacrifice himself to save Tang Zheng's life would have already been lost. Now they were together again, it was really strange. However, the king of medicine did not ask much, and respectfully shouted to Tang Zheng, "Master, you are here." "I am not late," Tang Zheng said with a smile. "No, the auction is ready. Let's go in first." "Okay." "Ha, Brother Tang, you are here too. It's been a long time." Yen Luyun laughed and held Tang Zheng's hand tightly. "Young Master Yen is also here." "Yeah, there are quite a few good treasures in an auction of this scale. If Brother Tang takes a fancy to anything later on, don't hesitate and make the first move to gain the upper hand. These people are all hungry wolves, and when they see a little treasure, they will fight until their heads bleed." Yen Luyun kindly introduced. "I just came to open my eyes." Tang Zheng shrugged. "Master, let's go in. The auction is about to start," the king of medicine said. Tang Zheng nodded and walked up the stairs. Yen Luyun was stunned on the spot. He thought that there was something wrong with his ears. The king of medicine actually called Tang Zheng master. This was a mess. Didn't the king of medicine want to take Tang Zheng as his disciple? Why did he call Tang Zheng master instead? Yen Luyun followed with suspicion, but he was too embarrassed to ask directly. However, he found something strange. The king of medicine was really respectful to Tang Zheng, just like a disciple to his master. It was completely different from the last time they met. The world is in chaos, in chaos. Yen Luyun shook his head hard and muttered in his heart. "Oh, young Master Song and young Master Yi are also here. I really let you down. I did not do as you wished, and I am still standing here alive." Tang Zheng said with a smile, but his words were full of gunpowder. When Tang Zheng was injured and unconscious, these two people intended to harm him. He would not forget this grudge. Yiku awkwardly said, "Tang Zheng, there must be a misunderstanding. Your relationship with Ding Dang is not shallow. How can we want you to die?" "Hee, is it? If you don't want people to know, then don't do it. I remember everything that the two of you have done in my mind." Tang Zheng pointed to his head and said with a cold smile. Song Yu said with an ashen face, "Tang Zheng, when we met for the first time in ordinary balance, it was also at the auction. I still remember that you bought a pill furnace. I never thought that you, who was not amazing at that time, would achieve today's achievements in a short period of time. You have stirred up turmoil in the capital. If you had known earlier, I am afraid that you would not have lived until today." Song Yu and Tang Zheng had deep grievances. Therefore, there was no false civility at all. They were directly opposed to each other. "Young Master Song, if you want to kill me, then do it. Otherwise, why are you talking so much nonsense? Moreover, at the martial arts convention, I was plotted against. I have not yet found the person behind the scenes. If I find out who did it, do you think I will let him go?" Tang Zheng asked. Song Yu's heart thumped, but she did not show any difference. She said lightly, "Is that so, then I wish you to find the real culprit behind the scenes as soon as possible." Seeing that Song Yu did not have the slightest difference, Tang Zheng could not determine whether this matter was done by him. Moreover, he had just killed Chu Chongyang. At this time, if he killed Song Yu, he would really become the target of public criticism. Even if he knew that the other party did not have good intentions, Tang Zheng could not do it like this. Master, let's go in. The auction is about to start. The king of medicine advised. Tang Zheng nodded, snorted, and walked into the auction center, leaving only Song Yu and Yika looking at each other. They also thought that they had heard wrong. How could the king of medicine call Tang Zheng master? Chapter 479. Under the Medicine King's lead, Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang walked into the auction center, immediately attracting the gazes of many people. Everyone whispered to each other, trying to guess just who this person was, to actually cause the Medicine King to mobilize so many people. Tang Zheng glanced at the people seated in the hall. Every one of them had an extraordinary aura. He could tell that they were either wealthy or respectable people. However, he spotted two familiar faces in the crowd. Qi Shaoan and Old Wei saw him as well. They immediately stood up and walked toward him. Professor Qi, you're here too. Tang Zheng greeted them with a smile. During this time, Qi Shaoan had been researching about the ancient times. This time, he was specially invited by the organizer as a consultant. Given his status in the field of archaeology, with him in charge, it was guaranteed that the antiques auctioned here would be authentic. Old Wei was indebted to Tang Zheng for helping him to bury the hatchet with Qin Batian. Otherwise, the 1,000-year-old blood jade he sold to Qin Batian would have costly Hung Qing her life. If that happened, his antique shop would not be able to continue operating. Old Wei was very grateful to Tang Zheng. However, during this period of time, every time he asked Qi Shaoan to invite Tang Zheng out, Qi Shaoan would refuse, which made him feel strange. Young Master Tang, we finally meet again. I haven't thanked you properly for what you did last time. After the auction is over, you must come. I'll treat you to a meal. Old Wei said warmly. It's just a small matter. Don't worry about it. It may be a small matter to you, but it's a big deal to me. Old Qi, you're his mentor. Please say a few words for him. Old Wei said. Qi Shaoan did not agree. Ever since he found out about Tang Zheng's identity as a cultivator, his desire to take him in as his disciple had faded. Tang Zheng's identity made it impossible for him to focus on boring archaeology work. However, his impression of Tang Zheng did not deteriorate. Instead, he was more interested in him. Tang Zheng, you're here for the auction too. What are you auctioning? Qi Shaoan asked curiously. Tang Zheng nodded. We're auctioning off some small items. You'll see later. Seeing that he was keeping them in suspense, the two of them did not ask in detail. They nodded at the King of Medicine and Huang Xiang and returned to their seats. Although the King of Medicine was well known, not everyone knew who he was. At least, Qi Shaoan and Old Wei didn't know who he was, so they weren't as surprised as those who knew the inside story. After sitting in the VIP seat, the King of Medicine sat next to him and softly introduced the auction process and precautions. At this time, the three young masters also walked in. They looked deeply at Tang Zheng, and then sat on the other side of the VIP seats. The organizer went up on stage and said a lot of nonsense before announcing the start of the auction. This auction was very direct. They skipped a lot of unnecessary formalities and directly presented the auction items. These auction items included works of art, antiques, paintings, jade, and even medicine. According to the King of Medicine's introduction, many of these medicines were at the forefront of science and technology. Many serious diseases that caused ordinary people to pale in fright also had corresponding medicines to treat them. However, these drugs were often in the experimental stage and had a certain risk. Of course, they were also extremely expensive and could only be tested on a small scale. Even so, the auction every year was still very competitive. For rich people who were heavily armed, even if there was a glimmer of hope, they would still rush like ducks. Seeing the bids being raised again and again, each time increasing the price by millions, they really experienced the life of the rich. To them, wealth was just a number. As long as it was for the goal in their hearts, they would not be stingy with money. The next auction item is a gentleman's family heirloom. Because the gentleman is in urgent need of money, he put it up for auction. This auction item is called the golden jade purple garment. The specific age is unknown, but after the appraisal by our advisory team, it is without a doubt authentic. The auctioneer introduced. A purple garment appeared in front of everyone. This garment was very bright and colorful. The main color was purple, but it was interspersed with gold embellishments, which made the color of the whole garment appear more lively. Purple was a noble color, and it was extremely difficult for ordinary people to wear it. Moreover, this was an ancient garment. Modern people could only wear it at home. Moreover, this was an antique. Even if it was bought, it would be as a work of art. No one would really wear it. When the crowd saw the golden jade purple garment, there were obviously not many people interested. Many people shook their heads. The value of antique clothing was lower than other types of antiques, and it was extremely difficult to preserve, so it was not on the list of the bidding targets. Only a few women were attracted. They praised, "The clothes of ancient times are so beautiful, like clothes worn by gods. It is much more beautiful than the clothes in the fashion week." The starting price is 5 million, and each bid is increased by 500,000. When the auctioneer said this price, there was a burst of boos. This price was the lowest in an auction of this level. Although the price was low, there were not many people who were willing to buy it. This kind of high-standard auction, this kind of quality auction item must have come in through the back door. Someone muttered and questioned. "Let's see who will buy this thing." The auctioneer looked at the guests expectantly. No one raised their paddle for a long time. He thought that the auction was going to fail. Finally, a woman raised her paddle. The auctioneer excitedly shouted, 5 million, this lady has bid 5 million, is there anyone who wants to go higher? This woman is a fashion designer. This must be bought for research. Someone recognized the bidder. Only they would be interested in this dress. After this bid, no one raised their paddle for a long time. Seeing this, the auctioneer shouted, 5 million going once. 5 million going twice. Just when he was about to shout 5 million 3 times, a person raised his paddle and increased the price. 5,500,000, this gentleman has bid 5,500,000, is there anyone who wants to go higher? The auctioneer excitedly said. "Ha! There was really a spendthrift who increased the price." Everyone looked at the person who raised the paddle at the same time. It was a young face sitting in the VIP seat. "Ah, isn't this the young man who came in with the king of medicine just now? Why is he interested in this dress?" Everyone murmured in their hearts, especially the 3 young masters. They couldn't help but sit up straight and stare at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. When the king of medicine heard Tang Zheng's bid, he was also surprised and asked, "Master, why are you interested in this dress?" Tang Zheng slightly raised the corner of his mouth and said calmly, "I am determined to get this dress." The king of medicine was slightly stunned and didn't know what he meant. He said, "The price of this dress is definitely not very high. If you like it, you can buy it." Of course, Tang Zheng wouldn't waste a few million for no reason. This golden jade amethyst dress was worth it. No, it was worth far more than a few million. Tang Zheng felt the fluctuation of spiritual power on this dress. This was a magic weapon, and a black level one at that. However, this was a defensive magic weapon, not an offensive magic weapon. Even so, it was still worth a lot of money. It was useless to others, but it was of great use to Tang Zheng. When the designer saw someone increasing the price, she didn't raise her paddle again. Obviously, in her mind, this dress wasn't worth increasing the price. When the auctioneer saw this, he thought the auction would be over soon and directly shouted, 5,500,000, going once. But just as he finished speaking, a person raised his paddle. When the auctioneer saw the person who raised his paddle, he excitedly opened his eyes wide and even raised his voice. He shouted, "Young Master Song increased the price by 500,000, is there anyone who wants to go higher?" If Tang Zheng bid for a small stone that fell into the lake, at this moment, Song Yu's bid was like a big stone that fell into the water, creating a circle of ripples. Originally, some people were already drowsy, but at this moment, they immediately raised their spirits, held their breath, and looked at the golden jade amethyst dress again. They wanted to see what kind of treasure this was that it could even make the Song family take action. Everyone still hadn't seen the reason why, and Yiko also raised her paddle. Young Master Yi increased the price by 500,000. The auctioneer's voice trembled. This time, the most inconspicuous item actually aroused the interest of the two families, which was really unexpected. Before everyone could recover from their shock, Yan Luyun had also raised his paddle. This time, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, thinking that today's trip was not in vain. To actually see the three great families interested in the same auction item at the same time, there was a good show to watch. Many people looked at Tang Zheng regretfully. The three families had already taken action, so this person definitely had no hope. Tang Zheng slightly frowned and glanced at the three people. He only saw Yan Luyun nodding and smiling at him, and the other two people had a cold face. Tang Zheng did not hesitate to raise his paddle, and Song Yu immediately raised her paddle. Yi Ku and Yan Luyun followed closely behind. After that, the four people took turns to raise their paddles, and it became a competition. Others looked at this scene dumbfoundedly. Was this the willfulness of the rich? For a broken piece of clothing, the competition was so fierce that it had entered a white-hot stage. The auctioneer was also petrified. He had experienced many large-scale auctions, but there was no such situation. The four people seemed to be determined to get this golden jade amethyst dress, and they were rich and willful. 10 million. The auctioneer trembled and shouted, this was really like a dream. Yan Luyun stood up directly and shouted, I will bid 20 million, I will give this golden jade amethyst dress to Brother Tang. Ah! Tang Zheng froze for a moment, he did not expect Yan Luyun to bid for him. Suddenly, Tang Zheng immediately became the focus of attention. His first bid was 20 million, and it was from the Yan family. This was clearly the Yan family showing goodwill to Tang Zheng. Many people who did not know the inside story were speculating about what kind of sacred being Tang Zheng was, and how could he be valued by the Yan family. Chapter 480. Whether it was worth it or not, only the person involved, Yan Luyun, had the answer, but other people's feelings of awe for Tang Zheng arose spontaneously. There was no doubt that Tang Zheng's name would be thoroughly spread in these rich and powerful circles, and it would be even more resounding than before. Looking at Tang Zheng's astonished expression, Yan Luyun was very satisfied with his own actions. To make a person impressed, he had to do something unexpected. Since the Yan family even refused the request of the palace, their thoughts of winning over Tang Zheng would be even more unscrupulous, and they did not need to care about other people's attitudes. Young Master Yan, how can this be? Tang Zheng shouted across the air. Yan Luyun smiled heroically and said, why not? Just treat it as a small gift from me to you. 20 million for a small gesture. None of the people present were poor, but not many of them had such boldness. The King of Medicine had a good relationship with the Yan family. Seeing that the Yan family obviously wanted to make friends with Tang Zheng, he was happy to see it and advised, Master, the Yan family's good intentions, there is no need to refuse. Tang Zheng secretly nodded. No matter what medicine the Yan family was selling in the gourd, the relationship between Tang Zheng and the other three families was very tense. There was no need to push the Yan family to the opposite side. So, he cupped his hands and said, thank you for young Master Yan's good intentions. Yan Luyun heard the words, and his eyebrows showed joy. Tang Zheng accepted this gift, and the relationship with the Yan family could be deepened step by step. Song Yu and Yi Ku looked at each other and were shocked by this change. Was it really worth it for the Yan family to spend so much? Did they want Yan Luyun to succeed? Yi Ku's tight body softened and leaned on the chair. She did not intend to fight for it. Since Yan Luyun said so, there was no need to fight for it and intensify the contradiction with the Yan family. Song Yu's expression kept changing as he stared at the golden jade purple robe. With his knowledge, he really couldn't see what was so special about it. He then looked at the calm and composed Tang Zheng and the determined Yen Luyun. He couldn't help but sigh and lean back in his chair. Obviously, after weighing the pros and cons, he gave up on the fight. With the Song family's current status and ability, it was definitely not a good thing to go head-to-head with the Yen family. Seeing that no one was bidding anymore, the auctioneer made the final call. The golden jade amethyst robe now belonged to Tang Zheng. It would only be returned to him after the auction. After this fierce bidding, everyone felt that this trip was worthwhile, but more people gradually understood that the situation in the capital was becoming more and more delicate. Next is the last item of today's auction. It is rare in the world. It can be said that it is the most precious item in the past years. Perhaps some people will question its authenticity and think that it is a fantasy. Even I can't help but wonder if it really has such a magical effect. The auctioneer took a deep breath and said with a tone full of emotion. Everyone's attention was attracted by this remark. The three young masters' originally relaxed minds were tense again. They remembered the elixir that the king of medicine had said. The auctioneer saw that everyone's interest was aroused and continued with satisfaction. This item is called the life-continuing pill. As the name suggests, it is to extend a person's life. For example, you can live for 80 years, but after you take this life-continuing pill, you can live for more than 10 years. When this remark came out, everyone was silent. Obviously, everyone was shocked by this sentence. But in an instant, it was like a drop of water being thrown into a pot of boiling oil. The hall became lively, whispers, and discussions. You're joking, right? Someone questioned. The auctioneer bitterly smiled and resentfully said, I also suspect that I am joking, but I will solemnly tell you that this is not a joke. Nonsense, how could there be a life-continuing pill in this world? Isn't this like a legendary elixir? That's right. The medicines that were auctioned before were at most to nourish the body and prolong one's life. This life-continuing pill actually said that it can extend a person's life by more than 10 years. This kind of lie is too untrustworthy. Many people had this kind of thought. The auctioneer understood these people's doubts, but he didn't panic. Instead, he took a deep breath and calmly said, Everyone's doubts are very reasonable because no one has seen this kind of miraculous elixir with their own eyes before. But I want to say that since this life-continuing pill can participate in this auction, then there must be a reason. Seeing that everyone was craning their necks, the auctioneer did not keep them in suspense and directly said, This auction item was sent by the King of Medicine Senior, and he vouched for it. Does anyone still have doubts? The mocking words that many people had prepared were about to burst out of their throats, but after hearing this sentence, it was as if someone had grabbed their throats and forcibly choked them back. The King of Medicine vouched for it. Many people who knew of the King of Medicine's reputation immediately craned their necks to look at the King of Medicine, but saw that he was calm and composed, full of confidence. It was obvious that the auctioneer's words were not false. The King of Medicine vouched for it. Could it be that this life-continuing pill really is an elixir? It's possible. The King of Medicine Senior would not destroy his own reputation. Moreover, there is no need for him to create this kind of fake gimmick. The three young masters really wanted to rush over and ask the King of Medicine what was going on, but they understood more than anyone else the King of Medicine's authority. The three of them did not have any more doubts, but their eyes became more and more heated. This kind of elixir must be obtained, every family needed it. Senior King of Medicine Senior, I have a question I would like to ask. Even if this life-continuing pill really has the effect of prolonging one's life, how can you be sure that it can extend one's life by more than 10 years? Someone finally couldn't help but stand up and politely ask. The King of Medicine said without changing his expression, I want to be clear, the life-continuing pill does not only have the effect of prolonging one's life, but it can really extend one's life. For example, if a dying person takes the life-continuing pill, his life will immediately increase by more than 10 years, unless there is an accident. When everyone heard this, their eyes widened, and their breathing involuntarily quickened. The richer a person was, the more they cherished their life. Everyone would reach the end of their life, and at that time, as long as they took the life-continuing pill, their life would increase by more than 10 years. No one would refuse such a gift. Could this be the result of Senior King of Medicine Senior's research? Someone asked. The King of Medicine explained, I am ashamed, this is not the result of my research, but the result of my master. The life-continuing pills auctioned today were all made by my master. Everyone revealed a suspicious expression. The King of Medicine had been famous for a long time, but the others had never heard him mention his master. Many people were very curious about this mysterious master. To be able to make such a miraculous elixir, how great must his ability be? But there were 3 people who were shocked, and they all looked at Tang Zheng. They had personally heard the King of Medicine call Tang Zheng his master. Could it be that the master the King of Medicine was talking about was him? May I ask who your honorable master is? Can he broaden our horizons? The King of Medicine pointed at Tang Zheng and said, This is my master. Tang Zheng's expression did not change, but the others were so shocked that their jaws almost fell to the ground. Even if Yan Luyun and the others had guessed a little, they were shocked speechless by this news. Senior King of Medicine Senior, you must be joking. Someone did not believe it. The King of Medicine's face darkened and said, I never joke. Huh? Everyone was stunned. Seeing his serious expression, it did not seem like he was joking. Suddenly, everyone looked at Tang Zheng with more and more complicated eyes. At such a young age, he had become the King of Medicine's master. No one would believe it, but since it came from the King of Medicine's mouth, they could not help but believe it. Tang Zheng was calm and composed, and really had an unfathomable demeanor. Moreover, just now Yan Luyun did not hesitate to use 20 million to get on good terms with the other party. This showed that his identity was not ordinary. Many people gradually dispelled their worries and began to look forward to the mysterious life-continuing pill. They made up their minds to get a life-continuing pill and store it away in case they needed it. Many people even began to make phone calls to report this important news to their families. Even the 3 young masters were no exception. They understood Tang Zheng better than ordinary people. Others may have doubted the authenticity of the life-continuing pill, but they immediately believed it because Tang Zheng was a cultivator. There were many things about cultivators that could not be measured by common sense. Since no one has any more questions, then the auction will begin. As the first person to bid for this miraculous pill, I am honored. The starting price for one life-continuing pill is 10 million, each bid will increase by 1 million. As the voice fell, an attendant walked onto the stage with a brocade box in her hands. When the brocade box was opened, a strange fragrance assailed everyone's nostrils, causing them to feel refreshed. Everyone stretched their necks, wanting to see the true appearance of the life-continuing pill. The appearance of the life-continuing pill was not bad, it had a bit of the charm of an immortal pill. This smell is too good, it makes people feel refreshed. Just by smelling it, I'm afraid my insomnia will be cured. Someone eagerly said. But some people did not care about praising it and directly raised their paddle, 20 million. From 10 million to 20 million, it could be seen how attractive the life-continuing pill was. 30 million. Some people did not want to fall behind and continued to raise the price. From this moment on, the auction reached its climax, with the price increasing by the tens of millions. The auctioneer's face flushed red, this was too exciting. This was called being willful with money, this was called using money to buy a life. Each and every one of them were red in the face, almost coming to blows. The King of Medicine nodded his head in satisfaction and said, Master, I already said that the life-continuing pill's value can only be displayed in this kind of place. Looking at their enthusiasm, this time it will definitely exceed our expectations. Tang Zheng gave a gratified smile, if it was not for the King of Medicine's help, then he would not have been able to sell it for such a good price. The life-continuing pill had already been bid for 100 million. 100 million was a sky-high price, was it expensive? Not expensive at all. Nowadays, a blue and white porcelain or a master's painting could be sold for a sky-high price of several hundred million. If a godly pill that could extend a person's life by 10 years was not sold for 100 million, then it would be an insult to the godly pill. Chapter 481. The bidding price had already soared to 200 million, but the rich people's enthusiasm did not diminish. The three young masters were finally unable to sit still. Song Yu suddenly stood up and loudly shouted, 300 million. Then, she looked at the others with an unkind expression. When the rich people who were originally full of confidence saw this, they subconsciously stopped. These rich people could compete with each other, but they did not have the background and strength of the large families. Competing with them was tantamount to a mantis trying to stop a chariot. However, there were exceptions to everything. An old rich man supported himself with a walking stick and shakily stood up and shouted, I bid 400 million. Song Yu's eyes turned cold and swept towards the old man like a sharp knife. The veins on the old man's hand popped out. Why was he not afraid of the Song family? Because he was a person who was about to die. The doctor had already given him an ultimatum. If a miracle did not happen, then he would have to report to the king of hell. The life-continuing pill was his only hope of survival. Even if he had to take a huge risk, he still had to fight for it. However, the others did not have the courage. Seeing Song Yu's unkind expression, many people's hearts were in turmoil. When the auctioneer saw this hostile situation, his throat became dry. He coughed and coughed to ease his nervousness. He asked, is there anyone who wants to bid higher? 500 million. Song Yu gnashed her teeth as she shouted. Her eyes were about to spit fire and her gaze could kill. The old man wanted to raise his paddle again, but he was pulled back by the younger generation. It was clear that they knew that Song Yu was on the verge of exploding. The old man was not afraid of the Song family, but the younger generation could not bear the anger of the Song family. The old man sighed and regretfully lowered his head. It was as if all the strength in his body had been sucked out. He listlessly sat on the chair. Song Yu revealed a proud expression. The Song family's name had finally suppressed the others. This life-continuing pill was in her bag. This was what the old master of the Song family, Song Jia Nan, had instructed. They had to obtain the life-continuing pill at all costs, so Song Yu naturally didn't dare to be negligent. However, when his gaze swept past Tang Zheng, it was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head, and the complacent expression on his face completely vanished. Was the life-continuing pill worth being happy about? Of course, but looking at Tang Zheng, why couldn't he feel happy at all? That was because he had given the 500 million yuan to Tang Zheng. He had allowed Tang Zheng to earn an astronomical amount of money. As an old enemy, of course, he would not be happy. But what could he do? Apart from the life-continuing pill, there were no other pills. If one wanted to increase their lifespan, they would have to obediently fork out the money. Yan Luyun and Yiku also couldn't wait to spend money, but they did not compete with Song Yu, because the continuing life pill was not the only one, and there was no need to raise the price. A life-continuing pill, 500 million yuan sold. This life-continuing pill belongs to young Master Song, congratulations. The auctioneer made the final decision and announced excitedly. The etiquette lady walked in front of Song Yu with a brocade box in her hand. Song Yu hurriedly stood up and took the brocade box with both hands. It was as if he was holding a sacred object, both excited and respectful. A burst of fragrance assailed his nostrils, making him have an impulse to swallow it directly. However, this was something that the old man wanted, so he did not dare to fill his own pockets. In fact, to be honest, he was still young and did not need this thing. The biggest role of the life-continuing pill was that it was effective for the dying and the elderly. For people who still had decades to live, the effect of the life-continuing pill was not obvious. Although the life-continuing pill allowed a person's body to extend their lifespan by 10 years, if they encountered an accident, such as being stabbed in the chest by a sword, this person would still die. The life-continuing pill was not a gold medal to avoid death, it only extended the body's life functions. Song Yu could not wait to put away the life-continuing pill, keeping it close to his body. Then, he was ready to go and prepare for the next auction. The etiquette lady held a life-continuing pill on the stage. Everyone was quiet. This time, no one shouted a price, but they all looked at Yen Luyun and Yi Ku, who were sitting quietly. Since the three big families were determined to get this thing, they simply did not want to get involved. First, they would let them harvest it, and then see if there was a chance to fight for it. Yen Luyun directly shouted a price of 500 million yuan. No one competed with him again, and he received a life-continuing pill. Yi Ku followed suit and also bought a life-continuing pill at the same price. Tang Zheng looked at all this without saying a word. It seemed that the clouds were light and the wind was light, but in fact, there were stormy waves in his heart. He did not expect that a life-continuing pill could be auctioned for a sky-high price of 500 million yuan. Selling it to Yi Xuanji was really too cheap for him. He still underestimated the desire of these rich people for life. 1 is 500 million yuan, 10 is not 5 billion yuan. Tang Zheng excitedly thought, so that his industry would have enough funds to operate for the time being. The king of medicine subconsciously touched the life-continuing pill in his pocket. The gift that Tang Zheng gave him was really too valuable. Even if his concept of money was not very keen, he also knew what this price meant. Suddenly, he looked at Tang Zheng with more and more fiery eyes. When the etiquette lady held the fourth life-continuing pill and walked on the stage, the crowd suddenly exploded and boiled up. The three big families had already received one, and no one fought with them. Now, they could finally bid with their own ability. However, everything would not necessarily go according to people's wishes. The eyes of the old man who had previously given up lit up, and he stood up directly. Using all his strength, he shouted, 1 billion, I will give 1 billion yuan. Hiss. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. The previous price of 500 million yuan was already not low, and now it was doubled. 1 billion yuan, even for rich people, was not a small amount. However, this old man was obviously very eager for life, and was determined to buy a life-continuing pill. Many people saw this and began to retreat. The three young masters were originally prepared to compete, but they were stumped by the old man's formation. Just now, the old man was scared off. But now, even if the three big families increased the price, he would still stake everything on this one bid. The three looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. This old man was already possessed, and was like a madman. There was no need to compete with a madman. Thus, everyone tacitly agreed not to raise the price. The fourth life-continuing pill was successfully auctioned off at a sky-high price of 1 billion yuan. Tang Zheng also did not expect this, but more money flowed into his wallet, so of course he was happy to see it. This is already the fourth pill, how many life-continuing pills are there? Song Yu muttered to herself. Everyone else also had the same question in their hearts. Finally, someone could not help but ask, how many life-continuing pills are there? 10. The auctioneer stretched out his 10 fingers. Now is the fourth life-continuing pill. Since everyone's enthusiasm is so high, then we will not set a starting price. If you are interested, please directly offer a price. If the auctioneer had a heart disease, he was afraid that his heart disease would relapse. This kind of bidding was really too stimulating. Hearing that there were 10 life-continuing pills, there were only 6 left. The three young masters looked at each other. Song Yu said, 2, since there are still 6 pills, then we can divide them equally among the 3 families. We can also bid for 2 more life-continuing pills, not giving others a chance to take advantage of us. What do you think? Yi Ku nervously nodded and said, I think so. Yen Luyun looked at the two of them meaningfully, and said in a non-committal manner, "I'm afraid things won't be as simple as you think. Many people's eyes are red, and they are going crazy. For the life-continuing pill, they will not hesitate to pay any price. If we want to bid fairly, then we will definitely pay a high price." Song Yu was not reconciled and said coldly, "Are these people pig brains? Raising the price so unscrupulously, in the end, the one who will benefit is Tang Zheng." Yen Luyun frowned and said, "So what if Tang Zheng benefits? He worked hard to refine the life-continuing pill, and he has indeed received the due return." Seeing him make a move for Tang Zheng and not stingy with his praise, Yiku said with a heavy face, "Do you want us to be spendthrifts and bid for all of them at a sky-high price?" The old man bid 1 billion to succeed. If other people bid less than this price, it would not be justified. In other words, Tang Zheng's wealth would increase by a large amount for no reason. Song Yu and Yiku thought about it and felt short of breath. This was too easy for him. But what can they do? They can only watch Tang Zheng make a lot of money every day. No, this was billions. It was simply the world's most profitable business. The fifth life-continuing pill has been put on the stage. Song Yu directly called a price of 500 million, and then looked around like a tiger eyeing its prey. However, this time, he found that many people's eyes were very eager, and they did not have the intention to give up. 500 million, this life-continuing pill will be bought by the Song family. Song Yu arbitrarily announced. The meaning of the threat was clear. Your Song family already has one, don't you want to give others a way to live? I will bid 600 million. A middle-aged rich man with a big belly said indignantly. Yes, we want a fair auction, the highest price gets it. Someone echoed. The attraction of the life-continuing pill was too big, even suppressing their fear of the Song family. Song Yu heard the words, and his face was ashen. In front of so many people, he was somewhat embarrassed. He bitterly swept his eyes at the few people who spoke. Several people deliberately avoided his gaze, but in their hearts, they did not give up. Yen Luyun and Yiku's hearts were dark. Their wishful thinking had no chance to start. This time, they were afraid that they would really have to bid a sky-high price. You really want to bid 600 million? Song Yu gritted his teeth and asked. Of course. The middle-aged rich man mustered up his courage and said. Well, very good, but I advise you, the life-continuing pill is not omnipotent. Don't let the life-continuing pill become a death sentence. Song Yu said with a smile. The middle-aged rich man was shocked. He gritted his teeth and weighed it, but still did not give up. Seeing that his threat did not work, Song Yu was forced to raise the price, 700 million, 1 billion. The middle-aged tycoon hesitated for a moment and shouted loudly, directly raising the price of the previous one. Song Yu clenched his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Seeing him in a dilemma, Tang Zheng's heart blossomed with joy. Chapter 482. Everyone looked towards the entrance and saw that these people had an extraordinary aura. They walked straight to the main stage and loudly said, "The auction is over. Everyone, leave." What? Everyone thought they heard wrong. These people rushed in and announced the end of the auction. What the hell was going on? The organizers' people quickly went up to negotiate. The other guests were even more indignant. These rich people were not willing to suffer losses. Moreover, there were still 6 life-continuing pills left. How could they leave just like that? Who are you people? What right do you have to tell us to leave? Someone unhappily asked. That's right. How dare you be so arrogant here? Capture them. Someone angrily said. Some of the rich people's bodyguards were already ready to move. They were waiting for their employer's order to flip these people over. The 3 young masters frowned at the same time. They looked at each other and shook their heads. They did not know who these people were. However, Tang Zheng saw 2 familiar faces among them. Xing Feng and Kai Guibin. He already knew that they had formed a new organization called the Dragon Group. They even had a conflict with the Thundercloud Beast and had captured a flame bird. Their strength was not ordinary. The Dragon Group broke into the auction. What were they doing here? Tang Zheng muttered in his heart. He was slightly angry. This was related to his accumulation of funds. How could it be disrupted like this? The organizer was negotiating with Xing Feng in a low voice. Xing Feng had an arrogant expression on his face. The organizer lowered his head and announced, "I'm sorry, everyone. This auction ends here. Please go back." What the hell? The auction is not over yet. How can it be over? Are you playing with us? Someone directly stood up and angrily said. The organizer looked at Xing Feng helplessly with a troubled expression. Xing Feng coldly snorted and waved his hand. "You don't want to leave. Throw him out." One of the underlings walked towards the rich man. The rich man's bodyguard immediately stood up. However, before he could make a move, he was hit in the chest and flew out. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. The rich man was dragged out of the door like a dead dog. The others looked at all of this in shock. These were all people with status, yet these people actually treated them like this. They were going too far. Many people slapped their chairs and stood up. The crowd was agitated. Who are you? How dare you behave so atrociously here? Xing Feng sneered in disdain. Don't think that you can act all high and mighty just because you have some money. You're worthless before me. Didn't you ask who we are? Let me tell you, listen well. We are the Dragon Group. Remember this clearly. If you want to get back your face, we will accompany you anytime. Now, scram. Xing Feng's aura was overwhelming. His voice was loud and resonant, causing people's minds to tremble. In the capital, the only people who dared to be so arrogant, other than the few great clans, were those with official backgrounds. No one present was an idiot. They immediately guessed that the other party must have an official status. As the saying goes, civilians do not fight with officials. No matter how rich a person was, he would not dare to go head-to-head with an official. Many people who had originally raised their necks immediately shrunk back. Their proud and straight bodies immediately drooped down. One after another, the soles of their feet were smeared with oil, and they slipped away. But some people did not slip away. The three young masters were one of them. If the people of the three great clans also left with their tails between their legs, then wouldn't it ruin their own reputation? Song Yu stood up and went straight to Xing Feng. She asked, "How come I haven't heard of the Dragon Group?" Xing Feng glanced at Song Yu and said with a smile, "It turned out to be young Master Song. Nice to meet you." The Dragon Group was established not long ago, but in the future, the name of the Dragon Group will definitely be heard by everyone. Yan Luyun and Yiku also came to Xing Feng. Even if the other party had an official background, they still had to ask for an explanation. After all, the life-continuing pill was not an ordinary auction item. If they passed this village, they may not have this shop. Why did the Dragon Group stop the auction? Yan Luyun asked in a deep voice. Xing Feng mysteriously said, "I advise the three of you that each of you has already obtained a life-continuing pill. Don't overdo it and leave on your own." The three people's hearts thumped, and they secretly thought that this was not good. These people were also here for the life-continuing pill. In other words, since the beginning of the auction, the news of the life-continuing pill had reached the ears of the other party, so they came to intercept. The officials were also interested in the life-continuing pill. In fact, thinking about it carefully, the rich people had an infinite desire for life, and the people with power were even more so. Otherwise, why would so many ancient emperors pursue the path of longevity at all costs? Although the life-continuing pill was not equivalent to longevity, it would give more than 10 years of life. This was a temptation that no one could refuse. The three people's hearts were bitter, and they secretly lamented that it was a pity. They were too conservative before, and even arrogant. They thought that with their family's strength and influence, they would be able to win and get the life-continuing pill. Unexpectedly, there were unexpected winds and clouds, and the officials were also interested in the life-continuing pill. This matter was big. Even if it was the 3 great clans, they may not be able to get the 6 life-continuing pills. They were unwilling. Yiku said, "We each got 1 life-continuing pill, it is too little." Xing Feng sneered, "Humph, humph, it is already a lot. How can this kind of elixir be spread out casually? Wouldn't the world be in chaos? Of course, it should be nationalized. In this world, even the gold, silver, jewelry, and antiques dug out from their own ancestral home would be nationalized. The life-continuing pill, this kind of heaven-defying existence, how could the officials easily let it go?" When the 3 people heard this, they wanted to refute, but they had no way to do so. They could only turn to look at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng heard their conversation clearly, but his face was expressionless. This change was indeed beyond his expectations. He did not expect that the temptation of the life-continuing pill would be so great that it would arouse the interest of the officials. However, he did not panic, but instead looked at Xing Feng with interest. When they first met in Dianan, Tang Zheng made Xing Feng eat a big loss. Even if he now established the dragon group, Tang Zheng did not have the slightest fear. Xing Feng walked over to Tang Zheng and stood in front of him. He jokingly said, "Tang Zheng, we meet again. Yes, this world is really small. It is very small. Let me ask you, how many life-continuing pills do you have?" Xing Feng arrogantly asked. He did not believe that Tang Zheng would take out all the life-continuing pills to auction. "No comment." Tang Zheng said coldly. "You disrupted my auction. Does that mean you want to buy my life-continuing pill? I'm here to tell you that from this moment on, your life-continuing pill no longer belongs to you." Xing Feng said in a resounding voice. Not only did Tang Zheng frown when he heard this, but even Yan Luyun and the other 2 young masters' faces sank. They really did not expect Xing Feng's attitude to be so bad. This was an open robbery of the life-continuing pill. Tang Zheng was not an ordinary person. Was it so easy to rob? Yan Luyun said in his heart that things were bad. He was afraid that this matter would become big. Song Yu and Yiku looked at each other and their eyes lit up. If the dragon group and Tang Zheng were to fight, then they would be very happy to see this result. "I don't understand the meaning of your words. I'll have to trouble you to explain." Tang Zheng said calmly. "Hee, since you already know the answer, then I will tell you clearly that the life-continuing pill has been confiscated by the country and no longer belongs to you." Xing Feng said coldly. Tang Zheng had seen a lot, but he had never seen such a shameless person. This was clearly the behavior of a robber, but he was still so unscrupulous. "What if I don't give it to you?" Tang Zheng suppressed his anger and asked. Xing Feng murderously said, "This is not up to you." After that, he looked at Tang Zheng with ridicule. Originally, in Dianan, he suffered a loss and lost face, so he hated Tang Zheng. Now that he had the powerful dragon group, his self-confidence was bursting. He did not put Tang Zheng in his eyes at all. He also took this opportunity to teach the other party a lesson. If Tang Zheng was not being kind, he did not mind resorting to force, with interest, to get back the last time. Tang Zheng's eyes slowly stood up, and his eyes became firm. He said sonorously, "The life-continuing pill used to be mine. Now, in the future, it will belong to me. Anyone who wants to take the life-continuing pill for themselves without my consent is a robber. I have never been polite to robbers." After that, he gave a signal to the King of Medicine. The King of Medicine knew the importance of the life-continuing pill, so he immediately walked towards the rostrum, wanting to take back the remaining 6 life-continuing pills. Xing Feng's eyes turned cold as he ordered, "Stop him. Snatch the life-continuing pill." The order was like a mountain. Some people immediately attacked the King of Medicine, while others directly grabbed the boxes on the rostrum. "Out of the way. The king of medicine was also a martial artist, so he immediately received the attack. But the other party was not weaker than him. After a few moves, the king of medicine was actually at a disadvantage, and was surrounded by danger. Seeing this, Yan Luyun cried out, "Stop, this is Senior King of Medicine. You are not allowed to be powerless against Senior." The members of the dragon group did not care about the King of Medicine, and continued to use their killing moves. Yan Luyun knew that he could no longer sit by and watch. Like a gust of wind, he rushed over and forced the members of the dragon group back, saving the King of Medicine. Seeing this, Xing Feng angrily shouted, "What are you guys doing? You can't even deal with these few people." The members of the dragon group attacked as a group, and the scene immediately fell into chaos. "Take back the life-continuing pill." Tang Zheng gave the order to Huang Xiang, who was standing to the side. So, a black shadow flashed, and a gloomy gust of wind swept across, and several members of the dragon group were directly swept to the ground. The black shadow flashed again, and Huang Xiang once again stood beside Tang Zheng. It was as if he did not move at all, and his movements were like a ghost. Tang Zheng took the boxes and kept them in his sumaru pouch. Xing Feng watched as the life-continuing pill disappeared into Tang Zheng's palm, and flew into a rage. "Tang Zheng, are you trying to go against the dragon group?" Tang Zheng was as cold as ice as he said, "Going against bandits is one of life's greatest joys." Chapter 483. Both sides were on the verge of breaking out into a war. Kai Guibin and Tang Zheng were old acquaintances, and he was the second in command of the dragon group. Of course he didn't want to see the dragon group and Tang Zheng go to war, so he quickly said, "Tang Zheng, don't be impatient. The life-continuing pill is a miraculous medicine, and if it enters the market it will have a negative impact. Moreover, you have given the life-continuing pill to the country, so the country will not forget you." Tang Zheng gave a fake smile and said, "I won't forget." "Hee, your words are really nice. Let me tell you guys, other people are using real gold and silver to exchange for the life-continuing pill and are not taking it by force. If you want the life-continuing pills, then compete fairly. I won't have any complaints. Right now, the life-continuing pills are being auctioned for 1 billion each. As long as you can take out 6 billion, then these 6 life-continuing pills will be yours." Kai Guibin resentfully said, "Tang Zheng, you can't just look at money. There are some things that money can't measure." Tang Zheng didn't appreciate it at all. "Right now I only care about money. If you want to talk to me about unrealistic selfless contributions, then I advise you to give up on that idea." Xing Feng angrily shouted, "Why are you still talking so much nonsense with him? Since he is so stubborn, then don't waste your breath on him. This life-continuing pill will not only not prolong your life but will also hasten your death." Seeing that they were about to make a move, the king angrily shouted, "Stop! Do you know that this is a crime? Is there still any law?" Law. Let me tell you, the dragon group is the law." Xing Feng disdainfully said. "I will report your problem to the higher-ups. Be careful or you won't be able to bear the consequences. Do as you wish." Xing Feng didn't care at all. The king of medicine was so angry that his face and neck turned red. He had some friendship with the officials, and these officials often invited him to recuperate. Over time he had some feelings for them. "Fine, then you wait." The king of medicine clenched his teeth and said, "If you want to complain, then go ahead. Now it's time for us to make a move." Xing Feng gave a look to his left and right. Immediately, several of his men surrounded Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang. Song Yu and Yiku also did not mean to leave. Instead, they stood aside and watched this scene with great interest. Yan Luyun looked anxious and advised, "Wait a moment. Let's talk nicely. Why do we need to make such a big fuss? Young Master Yan, it's best not to get involved in some things. Otherwise, you'll get yourself into trouble and the losses will outweigh the gains." Xing Feng did not give him any face at all. Yan Luyun's eyes flashed with anger. He took a deep breath and said, "The life-continuing pill originally belonged to Tang Zheng. You want to take it for yourself with just a few words. How can there be such logic in this world? I have such a theory here." You. Yen Luyun was speechless. This was really a scholar encountering a soldier. The key was that the other party did not intend to reason with them. They were determined to take it by force. Tang Zheng cupped his hands toward Yen Luyun and said, "Young Master Yen, I appreciate your kindness. I'll take it later. I'll trouble you to protect the King of Medicine. Since they are bullying people like this, there is nothing to talk about. I don't want to talk to you." "Do it," Xing Feng ordered, and 10 of his men moved together. One by one, huge fists went straight to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not move, but Huang Xiang had already moved like a ghost. The ghost head blade directly slashed at several people. Puff! A man's arm was directly cut off. Blood flowed out and he staggered to the ground. Xing Feng shouted with a sullen face, "Evolve!" Roar, 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 one by one, his men roared. The blood vessels in their bodies were about to explode. Their bones were also crackling. In an instant, they had all grown 30 centimeters taller. Their bodies had also become exceptionally strong and sturdy. The hair on their bodies had also become a lot more exuberant. Hiss! Seeing this, everyone could not help but gasp. It was the first time they had seen this kind of thing. They were very surprised. But one thing was for sure. After these people evolved, the aura they emitted was completely different. Their fighting strength had obviously increased by more than one level. These people are all martial artists, but they are all in the Hotian realm. But the aura they emit is completely different from that of a Hotian realm martial artist. Tang Zheng could not accurately judge the opponent's strength, but he did not dare to lower his guard. This dragon group indeed had some skills. No wonder they were so arrogant. The key was that this kind of evolution was different from the cultivation of martial artists and cultivators. It had already exceeded the scope of both. How did they do it? Tang Zheng could not understand. Whoosh! 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 When these fists struck Huang Xiang's ghost head blade, Huang Xiang actually retreated a few steps, and the other party's fists followed like a shadow, attacking in front of him. Tang Zheng stomped on the ground, roared, and punched out with both of his fists, like an angry dragon emerging from the sea. The two of them each took a punch and flew backwards, while the other party's fist also arrived in front of Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not dodge, but instead straightened his body, and before the other party's strength reached its peak, he collided with the other party's fist. The effects of the primal chaos Vajra spell erupted, and Tang Zheng was like a steel bar with iron bones. He forcefully took a few punches, but he was completely fine, and his fist once again swung out like lightning. 2 more people were hit and fell to the ground. Tang Zheng's attacks were very fast and accurate. As long as he took a punch, he would immediately lose his fighting strength. Huang Xiang also joined the battle. The two of them worked together, and their fighting strength was off the charts. Not long later, more than 10 members of the dragon group fell to the ground one after another. Xing Feng watched this scene with his mouth agape. He couldn't help but feel a little regretful. He had come in such a hurry today that he didn't even bring his equipment. He only brought a few subordinates. Originally, he thought that with the fighting strength of his 10 or so subordinates, even if they couldn't kill Tang Zheng, they could at least teach him a lesson. After all, these subordinates were not ordinary people, but super warriors that had been modified by genetic drugs. The super warrior was an important project that the military had been researching for a long time, but there had been no progress all these years. It was only when the werewolves appeared in the martial arts assembly that the military brought back the werewolves' corpses for research that the super warrior project finally made progress. They extracted a type of genetic medicine from the werewolves' bodies. This genetic medicine could strengthen a person's body and greatly increase their fighting strength. Later on, the military captured a few demonic beasts from southern Yunnan, which allowed the research to progress even faster. In the end, the genetic medicine was perfected and reached the stage of clinical application. However, there was a flaw in these genetic medicines, and that was that the target of the genetic medicines had to be a strong person. Otherwise, they would not be able to withstand the side effects of the genetic modification and would directly die on the spot. Currently, the super warriors of the Dragon Group were all elites in the military. They were outstanding in all aspects, which was why they were able to survive. Tang Zheng looked at Xing Feng with a murderous look and said, "You want to snatch my life-continuing pill with just these people? You're too naive." Xing Feng's mouth and tongue were dry as he said, "Don't be complacent. Do you think the Dragon Group only has this much ability? You're thinking too simply of the Dragon Group. Then I'll give it a try." No matter who the other party was, Tang Zheng would not let go of anyone who interfered in broad daylight to snatch his life-continuing pill. Thus, Tang Zheng's feet slipped as he stretched out his hand and grabbed Xing Feng's neck. Xing Feng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He took out a small handgun from his bosom and pulled the trigger. Tang Zheng hurriedly dodged as the bullet was about to fly past his face. Suddenly, bang! The bullet exploded beside his ear as an electric light flashed. An electric net shot out from the bullet and covered Tang Zheng's head. Tang Zheng was caught off guard as his head was immediately covered by the electric net. The electric current flowed through his body and a burnt smell floated up from Tang Zheng's body. Tang Zheng roared as he circulated his qi to resist the powerful electric current. He grabbed the electric net and threw it to the side. Only then did he feel relieved. But he was completely enraged. Raising his head, Xing Feng's figure had actually disappeared. This fellow did not have the extravagant hope that this bullet would be able to get rid of Tang Zheng. Instead, he took this opportunity to escape. Tang Zheng wanted to chase after him but Kai Guibin stopped him and advised, "Tang Zheng, wait a moment. There's no need to chase after him. Since he has escaped, then he definitely won't let you catch up." Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, "Captain Kai, don't you feel embarrassed walking together with such a shameless person?" During the military training, Tang Zheng's impression of Kai Guibin was not bad, so he did not make a move against him. Kai Guibin resentfully said, "This is an order from above. As a soldier, I can only carry it out. I have no other choice." Although Kai Guibin did not agree with many of Xing Feng's actions, but he was after all the adjutant and Xing Feng was the leader. Kai Guibin could not influence Xing Feng's decisions. If you hang around with this kind of person, sooner or later you will get yourself into big trouble. Tang Zheng warned. "Tang Zheng, you are the one who has provoked a huge trouble. Kai Guibin is narrow-minded and will definitely seek revenge for the smallest grievance. You have repeatedly opposed him, so he will definitely not let you off." Kai Guibin said sincerely. "Just bring it on. I will take it one by one." Tang Zheng did not care. "Don't be careless. The Dragon Group is not an ordinary organization. There are many things that you cannot imagine. The life-continuing pill is indeed a miraculous medicine, but it is also a talisman that will hasten your death. You should understand the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. That's all I have to say. Take care of yourself." Kai Guibin finished speaking and left with the injured. This auction ended without any results, but many people witnessed a turn of events that was even more exciting than the previous auction. It was truly worth the trip. Now that the troublemaker had left, the people who had left the door rushed back like a tide. They stared at Tang Zheng with complicated expressions. Just now, everyone wanted to bid for the life-continuing pill, but now that they saw the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime, many people flinched. Without a certain level of strength, ordinary people would not dare to touch this kind of godly medicine. But the three great clans were not ordinary people. Although the Dragon Group was not an ordinary organization, they could not resist their enthusiasm for the life-continuing pill. The three young masters all surrounded him. Chapter 484. Song Yu looked resentful and said, Tang Zheng, the person who got in the way is gone, can the life-continuing pill continue to be auctioned? Tang Zheng smiled calmly and said, it is not an auction, but a price that satisfies me. The life-continuing pill is naturally his. Yi Ku asked, how much do you want? This depends on your intentions. 500 million. Song Yu said tentatively. Tang Zheng heard the words and laughed disdainfully. Young Master Song, you don't think that I am a 3-year-old child, easy to fool. Just now, the price has reached 1 billion, and now you are still calling for 500 million, you really have the nerve to call it out. Song Yu's expression changed slightly, and argued, it was different before. Now, you ask other people, who still dares to touch the life-continuing pill. Although the other rich people's eyes were burning, no one really made a move. After the dragon group made such a ruckus, many people have already stayed away from the life-continuing pill. Song Yu had seen through this, which was why he only offered 500 million. Although the life-continuing pill was magical, there must be people who dared to buy it. Tang Zheng looked around and said, Young Master Song, do you really think that the influence of the dragon group is so big? If I don't sell it publicly, then sell it privately. Who do you think will find out, and how much will the price be? If sold privately, the price would definitely be more than 500 million, because the buyer would not have to bear the risk, and the dragon group would not be able to interfere. Song Yu's expression changed slightly. This move really caught her off guard. When other people heard this, their eyes became more and more eager. They said that they must contact Tang Zheng later to see if they could buy the life-continuing pill without anyone noticing. Yan Luyun did not have as many small calculations as Song Yu and Yi Ku. He went straight to the point and said, Brother Tang, how much do you think is suitable? I will buy some. Tang Zheng smiled slightly and said, Young Master Yan wants to buy, you can name the price. Yan Luyun had treated him well several times, so Tang Zheng naturally wouldn't make things difficult for him. Yan Luyun pondered for a moment, and said, how about 1 billion for one? This was already twice the price of the life-continuing pill that he had just bought. It was the same price as that old rich man who didn't have much time left. This meant that he didn't want to take advantage of Tang Zheng. Deal, Tang Zheng promised. How much do you want? Although Yan Luyun wanted to buy them all, he didn't want to eat alone like other people, because eating alone would often lead to choking, which was not good. Yan Luyun stretched out 2 fingers. 2. Tang Zheng took out 2 brocade boxes and handed them to the other party. The others looked at the brocade boxes with shining eyes, wishing they could snatch them away. Song Yu and Yi Ku also stared at the brocade box and gritted their teeth. Song Yu said, I also bid 1 billion. Me too. Yi Ku hurriedly echoed. Tang Zheng glanced at the 2 people disdainfully and said, the price is too low, I won't sell. What, the price is too low? The 2 thought that they had heard wrong. Wasn't Yan Luyun's price? Tang Zheng, we really want to buy it, don't play with us. Song Yu said with a bad face. Who is playing with you? I also really want to sell it, otherwise, why would I come to the auction? Tang Zheng said plainly. Then why are you still randomly bidding? Did I randomly bid? Tang Zheng asked jokingly. It seems that you think that I don't treat everyone equally, right? Song Yu and Yi Ku were silent, apparently agreeing with this point. Tang Zheng shrugged and said, I really will tell you, I don't treat everyone equally. If you want to buy my life-continuing pill, you must follow my price, otherwise, there is no need to talk. Tang Zheng's imposing manner was very domineering, exuding an indisputable temperament. The 2 people were furious and wanted to explode, but when they thought of the life-continuing pill, they swallowed their anger. Tang Zheng did not care about the other party's anger. He did not want to sell the life-continuing pill to them. Since they wanted it, it was not impossible. But if he did not let them bleed and make them feel distressed, then he would not be called Tang Zheng. Then you name a price. Song Yu's teeth almost broke as she asked. Tang Zheng stretched out 2 fingers, 2 billion. What, in the blink of an eye, the price doubled, why don't you just rob? Song Yu sucked in a breath of cold air and flew into a rage. I just name a price, whether you want to buy or not is your business, I will not force you, how can it be called robbing? Tang Zheng sneered. Song Yu and Yiku looked at each other, their hearts were angry and helpless. Only Tang Zheng had the life-continuing pill in his hands, so he had the indisputable right to set the price. Yan Luyun looked at Tang Zheng gratefully. There was no doubt that Tang Zheng sold him 1 billion for one life-continuing pill at a price of friendship. When others heard this price, many people were ready to move, whispering. Although this price was equivalent to a sky-high price, how much value could a person create in more than 10 years of life? For these people, it was not impossible to create more than 2 billion in wealth in more than 10 years, so even if it was somewhat expensive, it was worth it. Some people had already made up their minds to privately find Tang Zheng to buy the life-continuing pill at a price of 2 billion. Song Yu and Yiku also understood this truth. Although they knew that Tang Zheng was taking the opportunity to raise the price, they did not have the ability to resist. Moreover, Yan Luyun bought the life-continuing pill at a low price, but they had to pay a high price. What did this mean? This showed that their face was not as useful as Yan Luyun. This was the Yan family once again compared to them. In the eyes of others, the Yan family's name would be more resounding. This was simply a slap in their face, and in fact, it made them eat a big loss. Therefore, Song Yu and Yiku's expressions were not very good. They stared at Tang Zheng, but Tang Zheng was not afraid at all. He looked at the other party with ridicule. The atmosphere became unusually oppressive. After a long time, Song Yu gritted her teeth and said, well, I promise you, at the price of 2 billion, I will buy 2. I will also buy 2. Yiku was not willing to fall behind and resolutely agreed. Tang Zheng's mouth hooked up a small arc and said, you can also not buy, I am not forcing you. We are willing. The 2 people's teeth fell and they swallowed it into their stomachs. When other people saw this, they showed disappointment. In this way, the life-continuing pills were almost all occupied by the 3 major families. But no one could do anything about it. This society was such a world of the weak and strong. No one dared to challenge the 3 major families. Everyone left gloomily. Tang Zheng completed the handover with the buyer. His accounts suddenly had 12.5 billion in cash, which made him have an illusion. It turned out that money was so easy for him. Song Yu and Yiku took the life-continuing pills and left with black faces. Yan Luyun stayed and looked at Tang Zheng quite enthusiastically. He said, Brother Tang, today you really shine. There will be more and more legends about you in the capital. Your name has completely overshadowed us. Yan Luyun was quite glad in his heart. He bought the golden jade purple clothes for 20 million and gave it to Tang Zheng. This business was really worth it. Using 20 million, he saved billions. This was something that no one expected in advance. He couldn't help but be glad for the old man's decision. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. The old man looked further than anyone else. He firmly stood on Tang Zheng's side. In the blink of an eye, he brought so many benefits to the Yan family. Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said, Young Master Yan is overpraising me. How can my reputation be compared with the 4 young masters of the capital? What 4 young masters of the capital? That's just a bunch of busybodies. Moreover, Chu Xiaofeng dared to call himself one of the 4 young masters of the capital. It's simply an insult to others. I don't want to be associated with him. Yan Luyun said contemptuously. Brother Tang, if you have nothing to do, can you and the senior king of medicine go to the Yan family? My father and my father would like to see you in person. Yan Luyun invited. The king of medicine looked at Tang Zheng, clearly wanting him to make the decision. Tang Zheng's heart moved. After going through so much, the Yan family still chose to be on good terms with him. Of course, he couldn't refuse, so he said, I have something to do for the time being. I'll ask the King of Medicine to go to your house for a chat. I'll find a time to visit in person. Yan Luyun also reluctantly nodded with a smile. He then left with the King of Medicine. Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang also left the auction center, but they returned with a bountiful harvest. Not only did they bring back a huge amount of money, but more importantly, they obtained the golden jade purple clothes. When Tang Zheng received the golden jade purple clothes from the auctioneer, he was 100% sure that it was a magic treasure. His eyes were not wrong, this was a profound grade magic treasure. However, if such a treasure fell into the hands of an ordinary person, it could only be regarded as dust. Taking advantage of the night, he disappeared from the imperial city with Huang Xiang. Now, the imperial city had experienced the earthquake, and the security forces had obviously increased a lot. Tang Zheng spent a lot of effort to secretly embed himself into the underground of the imperial city. When he came to the underground hall, Xiaobai quickly jumped over and jumped on Tang Zheng's shoulder, affectionately arching his neck and squeaking non-stop. When the five-clawed golden dragon saw Tang Zheng take out the golden jade purple clothes, he praised, not bad, a profound grade defensive magic treasure. It's not very powerful, but at least it can withstand a certain amount of attacks. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and said, You're a full man who doesn't know the hunger of the hungry. I know that your dragon scales are one of the most powerful defenses in the world, but ordinary people don't have your ability. It's very important to have a defensive magic treasure that can save your life when necessary. That's right, but this golden jade purple clothes is not very suitable for you. What are you going to do with it? The five-clawed golden dragon asked casually. I have my own plans. Tang Zheng casually threw the golden jade purple clothes into the air, and with a point of his finger, a stream of true qi was injected into the golden jade purple clothes. Swish! The golden jade purple dress immediately floated in the air as if it had a life of its own. It moved without the wind, and the hem of the dress swayed gently. A mysterious aura was emitted, and the purple light filled the entire hall. It shone together with the golden light emitted by the five-clawed golden dragon. It was particularly mysterious and profound. At this moment, the golden jade purple clothes was even more dazzling than before. If other people saw this scene, they would definitely not believe that this was the antique clothes that everyone thought was worthless. Chapter 485. With a heaven-flying immortal, a stream of energy hit the golden jade amethyst robe. With a bang, the air around the golden jade amethyst robe rippled, but the golden jade amethyst robe was undamaged. Tang Zheng did not use his full strength in this attack. After all, it was to test the defensive ability of the golden jade amethyst robe. He could not use too much strength and destroy this treasure. It turned out that Tang Zheng was worrying too much. The golden jade amethyst robe was worthy of being a profound level defensive magic treasure. Tang Zheng used 3 moves in a row, each more powerful than the last. The last move had already reached Tang Zheng's limit, but it still did not break the defense of the golden jade amethyst robe. Although Tang Zheng did not use a magic treasure to attack, even if it was a bare-handed attack, the power could not be underestimated. However, the golden jade amethyst robe completely blocked it. He was overjoyed and muttered to himself, I've picked up a treasure this time. I must put it away properly. Seeing Tang Zheng put away the golden jade amethyst robe happily, the five-clawed golden dragon said, It's going to be the new year. Are you leaving the capital? You've been locked up here, so you know a lot about the outside world. Of course, I'm not deaf. Of course I can hear the outside world. When you go back, leave Xiaobai here to accompany me for the new year. Tang Zheng touched Xiaobai on his shoulder and tactfully refused, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. It's not peaceful outside recently. I have to keep Xiaobai by my side in case of any accidents. Xiaobai was a powerful helper, and Tang Zheng was targeted by the Li Palace, Song, Yi, and Chu families. Of course, it would not be a waste to leave him with the 5-clawed golden dragon. The 5-clawed golden dragon was slightly disappointed and said, "A lot of people have come up here recently. It seems to be because of the big shock you caused last time, right?" Tang Zheng nodded, "That's true, but they won't connect that matter with me, so there's no need to worry. Your top priority is to quickly increase your strength and let me out," the 5-clawed golden dragon urged. Tang Zheng smiled and did not comment. He quietly left the imperial city with Xiao Bai and Huang Xiang. Just as the sun rose on the horizon, Yi Tianlei's call came unexpectedly. The news of Tang Zheng auctioning the life-continuing pills had already spread in the upper circle. Many people were actively inquiring about the details. Of course, the question that everyone was most concerned about was whether he still had more life-continuing pills. Many people were even willing to pay a higher price for them. However, last night, Tang Zheng turned off his phone and stayed in the imperial city for most of the night, causing these people to go crazy. Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng, Tang, Golden Jade. Long Yi Tianlei of the life pill was pill of the capital. The 5-clawed pill, you with a complex. He was someone who already knew about the life-continuing pill, but he never thought that Tang Zheng would suddenly take out so many life-continuing pills. This was truly a mess. Yi Tianlei was both shocked and overwhelmed with complex emotions. If it was his personality, he would not have done this in such a high-profile manner. "Uncle Yi, please don't laugh at me. I am also forced to do this. I have no way to raise a large amount of money in a short period of time, so I can only do this." "Oh, what do you need money for? As far as I know, you don't lack money." Yi Tianlei was incomparably astonished. "I didn't lack money before, but now I urgently lack money. I want to expand my business and have some success in the business world. The amount of money I lack is not a small hole." Tang Zheng spoke the truth. Yi Tianlei had always been concerned about Tang Zheng's cultivation, but knew very little about his business. Hearing this, he could not help but be astonished and said, "Tang Zheng, business is not like cultivation. It involves a lot more and is much more complicated. If you are not careful, all your money will go down the drain." It wasn't that he doubted Tang Zheng's strength, but that his previous performance in this area was nothing to write home about. Hearing that, Tang Zheng did not get angry, but instead felt grateful. Yi Tianlei spoke the truth, and this was true concern for him. "Thank you, Uncle Yi. I know what I am capable of. Right now, Mu Hongyan is the one who is in charge of the overall situation for me. I am just a shopkeeper who does nothing," Tang Zheng explained. "Mu Hongyan?" Yi Tianlei was shocked. He knew that Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan had interacted before, but he did not pay too much attention to it. He never thought that Tang Zheng would actually poach Mu Hongyan. Even the business genius of the Long family was poached by you, then my worries are unnecessary. I will wait and see, 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 wait for your business empire to be like your cultivation, amazing everyone. Thank you, Uncle Yi. Tang Zheng, I still have something I want to ask you." Suddenly, Yi Tianlei became hesitant. "Do you still have the life-continuing pill?" Tang Zheng's heart moved, and said, "Uncle Yi, it's not you who wants to ask, but someone else who wants to know, right? Hee, I can't hide anything from you. The old man heard about the auction, so he wanted me to ask about it." Tang Zheng coldly laughed. Yi Xuanji was the one who understood the miraculous effects of the life-continuing pill the most. If not for the life-continuing pill, his soul would have already flown to the horizon. Thus, it was not surprising that he valued this godly medicine more than anyone else. "If you ask me, I will tell you that I still have the life-continuing pill. If anyone else asks, then I don't have it for now. Tang Zheng said. Yi Tianlei was slightly startled, and immediately understood what Tang Zheng meant. He was differentiating Yi Tianlei from the Ye family, and the Ye family had already been placed on the opposite side. Yi Tianlei secretly sighed. Originally, the Ye family and Tang Zheng could have been very close, but who would have thought that it would come to this? I understand, I will tell the old man that the life-continuing pill is temporarily out of stock. Yi Tianlei understood tacitly and said, however, I still have to remind you that there are many people who have their eyes on the life-continuing pill. You are Tang Zheng's meat, so you should be careful. What are you saying so much nonsense for, little handsome brother? Your final exam is already over. Before we go back to ordinary balance, we must meet up. Ding dang, that girl has been talking about you. Feng Xinyang grabbed the phone and impatiently said. Aunt Feng, I am not welcome in the Ye family. If I go, it will only add to the awkwardness. Tang Zheng said. You don't need to come to the house, we will go outside to meet. I stay in this house all day, and I am about to go crazy. Feng Xinyang said bluntly. How is Ding Dong's injury? It's not too big of a problem, but she is lovesick, so she has been frowning all day. Cough cough. Tang Zheng awkwardly coughed, as he did not know how to respond. Why are you telling this to the child? Yi Tianlei mumbled. What do you know? If you, as the father, don't fight for it, am I, as the mother, going to turn a blind eye? Feng Xinyang argued. Tang Zheng was well aware of Feng Xinyang's personality, and hurriedly said, before I go back, I will find time to see Ding Dang. With that, he hurriedly hung up the phone. When he returned to Lu Qingmei's apartment, a person was already waiting for him. Wu walked straight towards him and said straightforwardly, the dragon group has set their sights on you, it is extremely dangerous, you better return to the martial sect with me immediately. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and said, you really don't want to give up, I told you, I won't go to the martial sect. The dragon group is a new organization established by the authorities. Not only do they have all kinds of new weapons, they have also made a major breakthrough in the area of super warriors. Don't look at how you defeated those super warriors yesterday, that is not their true strength. They are much more powerful than you think. Wu said in a deep voice. Tang Zheng's expression darkened, and said, you have investigated very clearly, are you saying that the people I defeated yesterday were super warriors? What exactly is going on with them? After meeting the dragon group last time, Wu had conducted a detailed investigation of the dragon group. In the end, he discovered that this newly established organization was not as simple as he had imagined. All these years, the three great organizations were able to be so mysterious and have such a strong influence. Even the officials had no choice but to submit to them. That was because there were no experts in the officials who could contend against them. After all, this country had only been established for a few decades. The true experts were all hidden and monopolized by the three great organizations or the great families. There was no lack of martial artists in the government, but there were no top experts, so the government had always been passive. Many years ago, the government had started the Super Warrior plan, but there had been no breakthrough. This time, the Super Warrior had finally succeeded, which also marked the weakening of the influence of the three great organizations and the great families on the government. After Wu found out about this detail, he realized that he had truly underestimated the Dragon Group. The Dragon Group was an organization that the government had prepared to contend against and fight against the other forces. The Super Warrior is an expert created in a short period of time by the government using the genes of demon beasts to modify humans. Although this kind of expert has yet to reach the peak and is unable to compare to a true expert at the peak of martial arts, in the future, when they have greater research results, it is not impossible for the Super Warrior's strength to rise to the next level and reach the peak. When Tang Zheng heard this, he was shocked. To be honest, he did not put the Dragon Group in his eyes before, but now that he heard Wu's words, he realized that he had been too careless. The government was not as weak as he had imagined. They had always been looking for ways to break the balance between them and the various major powers. This time, the super warrior was the key to breaking the balance. They had firmly grasped onto this key. The government could not launch a fatal attack on the dragon group at this time, because it would cause unrest in the country. This was a serious consequence that no one could bear. Therefore, everyone had to show their abilities under a stable premise. The one who laughed until the end would be the true victor. This is truly a big game of chess. Tang Zheng sighed. Therefore, the appearance of your life continuing pill is a fatal temptation to the government. No matter what, they will use all sorts of methods to obtain the life continuing pill. Only by going to the martial sect can you obtain the best protection. Wu took the opportunity to advise. Chapter 486. Wu bit her lips and looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. She never thought that he would be so stubborn. Even in the face of such great difficulty, he would not compromise and was unwilling to go to the martial sect. Seeing Tang Zheng turn around and leave, Wu did not chase after him. Her mind raced, and in the end, she realized that she was still unable to complete the mission given to her by the sect master. She really had no way of bringing Tang Zheng back to the martial sect. That day, she left the capital and returned to the martial sect. From afar, she saw the sect leader's wife, Lan Yu. She hurriedly shouted respectfully, "Mistress." Lan Yu was still beautiful, even more enchanting than a blooming flower in spring. She smiled like a flower and said, "Marshal, you're back. What mission did your master ask you to carry out? Furthermore, your master has become a little strange since he came back last time. He doesn't want to say anything and has been in closed-door cultivation." Wu's heart skipped a beat as he asked, "Master is in closed-door cultivation?" "Yes, I think he seems to have encountered some kind of problem and has become silent. Even I am not willing to say much." Lan Yu said suspiciously. Wu asked tentatively, "Mistress, there is a question that has been hidden in my heart for a long time. I have not had the chance to ask for so many years. I wonder if Mistress can help me solve my doubts." Lan Yu lovingly touched her hand and smiled. "I practically raised you single-handedly. You're just like my daughter. What questions can't a daughter ask her mother?" Wu revealed a rare smile and said, "Mistress, I will never forget your kindness to me for the rest of my life." "Silly girl, go ahead and ask." "Mistress, I heard that you and Master once had a child." Hearing this, Lan Yu's smile quickly disappeared and she became incomparably sorrowful. "Marshal, why do you want to ask this question?" Wu's heart tightened as he said nervously, "Mistress, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have asked this question." Lan Yu shook her head and said, "It was too long ago. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it." Although she said that, it was clear that she had not forgotten about this matter. "Your master and I once had a son. If he was born in another family, he would definitely be happy and healthy, a lively and cute child. However, he was born in the wrong family and went out to the martial sect. His fate became a tragedy." Lan Yu sank into her memories, and a deep pain appeared between her brows. "Why do you say that? Having parents like Master's wife and Master should be his fortune, right?" Wu Dawei did not understand. "Wrong, having parents like us is his greatest misfortune. We brought him into this world not long ago, but in the end, we erased him from this world." Tears flickered in Lan Yu's eyes, and her emotions fluctuated greatly. Marshall's heart stirred as he asked, "Could it be that something unexpected happened to him?" Unfortunate. It's because some people couldn't tolerate a little baby like him and actually tried to kill him, while some people couldn't even protect their own sons." "What a coward." Lan Yu's eyes burst with sparks of hatred. Marshall was shocked. Could it be that they were talking about her master? Could it be that his master had personally killed his own son? Wu was greatly shocked by his own thoughts, and a look of panic appeared on his face. He hurriedly comforted himself that it couldn't be like this, that he was just imagining things. Master's wife, Master's martial arts are strong, how could he not be able to protect his child? Wu asked nervously. What's the use of having a high level of martial arts? He listens to that person's every command and doesn't even have the courage to resist. Who is Master obedient to? Wu had never seen anyone with such prestige. Even the few elders of the martial sect did not dare to be careless towards their master, especially the great clan elder, who was the trusted aide of the previous sect master. However, he did not dare to give his master any face. The previous sect leader. Wu's heart skipped a beat. He finally guessed a bit. If there was anyone in this world who could make his master obey, then it could only be the previous martial sect leader who had already passed away. Could it be that the previous sect leader wanted to kill the child of his master and mistress? Why was that? Wu was confused. Wu asked suspiciously, Mistress, could it be that you're talking about the previous sect leader? Seeing that she had guessed it, Lan Yu did not hide it and coldly snorted, who else could it be other than him? That old thing actually tried to kill my newborn son for a groundless reason. Lan Yu's eyes burst out with intense flames of hatred. Wu was shocked. Master's wife bluntly called the previous sect leader an old thing. It seemed that the conflict between the two was not ordinary. However, this also aroused Wu Qianglia's curiosity. Even if there were too many secrets that could not be revealed to outsiders, she still wanted to understand the truth of the matter. Mistress, why would the old sect leader do such a cruel thing to a baby? Lan Yu stared straight at Wu and asked, Wu, why do I feel that you're a little strange today? Why did you think of asking this question? I was just asking on a whim. Lan Yu shook his head and said, I raised you since you were young, how could I not understand you? Are you hiding something from me? After he finished speaking, his eyes were bright and full of expression, giving off a feeling that he could see through one's heart. Wu panicked and hurriedly covered it up. Mistress, why would I hide it from you? You still want to lie to me? If you don't say it, I can directly go to your master and ask. You've never hidden anything from him since you were young. I believe he will definitely know. Lan Yu said. Don't go looking for master. Wu couldn't help but regret his curiosity. Regarding the matter of Tang Zheng, since his master had kept everyone else in the dark, there must be a reason for it. If mistress were to personally ask and master refused to tell her, then the already fragile relationship between the two of them would become fragmented. As someone who had been with them for dozens of years, Wu was naturally clear about the relationship between the two of them. Although the two of them were husband and wife, there was not much difference in the eyes of ordinary people. In reality, the relationship between the two of them was extremely tense and they had been separated for many years. Wu did not want to make things difficult for his master, nor did he want his married life to be affected because of this. Moreover, she thought of another possibility. Since master could not let Tang Zheng willingly return to the martial sect, what would happen if mistress were to make a move? With that thought, hope reignited in Wu's heart. Since that was the case, then telling mistress about this might allow things to turn around. Even if her master scolded her in the future, she would willingly accept it. Mistress, there's something I want to tell you. Take a look at this photo first. Wu opened a photo on his phone. It was Tang Zheng. Lan Yu looked at the photo in a daze and asked suspiciously, who is he? His name is Tang Zheng, and he is a cultivator. Wu stared at her, hoping to catch the slightest change in her expression. Cultivator? Lan Yu frowned suspiciously and said solemnly, Wu, show him to me. Who exactly is he? It can't be as simple as a cultivator, right? Mistress, the missions I've been carrying out these past few days are all related to him. He's a newly risen cultivator, and his strength is already higher than mine. How is that possible? Under your master's nurturing, it took you so many years to achieve what you have today, but he is a cultivator. In the current situation where cultivators are facing such a huge predicament, how could he have such a high cultivation? Lan Yu questioned. Although she usually did not care about the affairs of the martial sect, she was naturally not unfamiliar with the situation of cultivators. I don't understand either. Maybe he's the legendary genius cultivator who was born for cultivation. The first time I saw him, he was still very weak, but a few months later, he surpassed me. I can't explain the whole story, and according to the investigation, he hasn't even been cultivating for a full year. What? Not even a year? Lan Yu was shocked, disbelief hanging between her brows. Impossible, how can there be such a cultivation genius in this world? Wu also didn't want to believe it, but the truth was right in front of her, and she had no choice but to believe it. But this is absolutely true, Li Tianlan said. Lan Yu's brows furrowed tighter and tighter. Although this was inconceivable, she knew that Wu would not lie to her, so she continued to ask, Wu, why didn't your master kill such a genius? I don't know either, but the sect master's order is to let him return to the martial sect willingly. Also, he has a jade pendant with the word martial engraved on it. The sect master said that it belongs to the martial sect. Jade pendant. This jade pendant is the most precious treasure of the martial sect. Only the sect master and the successor of the sect master have the qualifications to wear it. Back then, it was lost in your master's hands, and because of this, he was almost expelled from the martial sect by that old man. How could it be on a cultivator? Could it be that master put it on him back then? Wu thought of a possibility and said hurriedly. Lan Yu's expression changed greatly, turning pale white, her body also trembling. She grabbed Wu's hand and said, You're saying that it might be your master who put it on him? Seeing master's wife's huge reaction, Wu was shocked and said resentfully, This is only my guess. Only master knows what the real situation is. Lan Yu's heart was in turmoil. Scenes after scenes of memories flashed through her mind like a movie. That year, it was after that incident that he lost that jade pendant. That jade pendant had always been worn by him, and he would not even take it off when he bathed or slept. Why would he lose it for no reason? Back then, I was immersed in the pain of losing my son, so I did not notice this abnormal situation. No, what happened back then was definitely not that simple. I must find him and ask him clearly. Lan Yu's heart rose and fell as she thought silently. Seeing that his wife's expression was changing and becoming more and more agitated, Wu hurriedly asked, Mistress, what happened to you? Lan Yu hurriedly said, Send this photo to me immediately, I want to ask your master clearly. Isn't master in closed-door cultivation? No one is to disturb him. Wu said worriedly. Chapter 487. When Wu saw the fierce side of his master's wife, he still tried his best to persuade her, Mistress, master has ordered us to take revenge on this matter. If you go and denounce him, it will be bad if it causes an uproar. Lan Yu suddenly stopped in his tracks, his expression fluctuating as he thought to himself, although that old man is dead, he still has a lot of fans in the martial sect. The great clan elder was once his trusted aide. If my poor son really didn't die, then wouldn't it be a huge disaster if they found out? Lan Yu's heart trembled, he turned around and stared at Wu, asking, Where is Tang Zheng? He's still in the capital for the time being. Immediately, take me to see him. Lan Yu ordered impatiently. Wu asked nervously, Mistress, could it be that Tang Zheng is your son? Lan Yu bit his lips, hesitated for a moment, and said, I don't know either. But since he has that jade pendant on him, then I must investigate and get to the bottom of it. Wu's emotions became extremely complicated. Although she had already guessed that this would happen, when she was about to confirm it, she was unable to determine whether this matter was good or bad. The martial sect had always taken hunting cultivators as their responsibility, and in the end, the son of the martial sect master was also a cultivator. Wasn't this a huge irony? Of course, Wu could not bear to see the reputation of the martial sect damaged and his master's reputation destroyed. However, she could not wait to find out the whole story. If Tang Zheng was really the son of her master and mistress, then wouldn't a family reunion be the happiest thing in the world? Wu was an orphan. Although she was raised by her master and mistress since she was young, she did not have her own real parents after all. Occasionally, she would urgently wish that her biological parents were by her side. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, she was inclined to let the family reunite. Mistress, if Tang Zheng is really your and master's child, then what should we do? Is he a cultivator? Wu asked tentatively. So what if he's a cultivator? That was how that old man concluded that my child couldn't practice martial arts, but was a genius in cultivating magic. That was why he couldn't tolerate an infant. Now, no matter who it is, if they dare to harm my child, I will fight them to the end even if I have to give up my life. Lan Yu said aggressively. Looking at the resolute Lan Yu, Wu could not help but feel a little envious of Tang Zheng. If he really was his master's child, then he would be the happiest child in the world to have a mother like his master's wife. However, when Wu heard that the old sect leader had determined that the baby in swaddling clothes was a genius in cultivating magic, he was even more certain that Tang Zheng was that baby, because he was a genius cultivator. Without stopping, the two immediately set off for the capital. At this moment, Tang Zheng was already sitting in the Yen family's living room. Several important figures of the Yen family were gathered together, and the king of medicine was also accompanying him. Just now, Yen Patian had personally welcomed him at the entrance. His etiquette was so high that it was truly rare. As the host and guests sat down, Tang Zheng first thanked Yen Luyun for his generous gift at the auction. Yen Patian hurriedly said that he was welcome, but in reality, it was the Yen family who had taken advantage of him. The price of the 2 life-continuing pills was much cheaper than the other families. That was a huge bargain. Yen Patian looked at Tang Zheng benevolently, and sighed, truly, the waves behind the Yangtze River are pushing the waves in front. Previously, when I acknowledged you as my master in Medicine King City, I was so shocked that my old heart was about to stop. Tang Zheng laughed and said, Elder Yen is too serious. This time, you have provoked the dragon group. Xing Feng is a vile person who will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. You must be careful. Yen Patian reminded him. Seeing that he and Wu were so serious about this matter, Tang Zheng did not dare to let his guard down and nodded in agreement. Yen Patian did not expect to be able to completely rope in Tang Zheng in just a few days. This was a long-term process that was imperceptible, so he was not in a hurry. After chatting with Tang Zheng for a while, he found an excuse to leave. The king of medicine and Yen Qishan followed him and left the hall. As a result, only Yen Qingyi and Yen Luyun were left in the hall. Yen Qingyi gave Yen Luyun a look, and Yen Luyun also found an excuse to leave. Only Tang Zheng and Yen Qingyi were left in the hall. Immediately, Tang Zheng's expression became strange. What kind of medicine was this Yen family selling in their gourd? Were they trying to use a beauty trap on him? But there was no need for a nun to use a beauty trap, right? Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. Seeing Yen Qingyi stand up and walk towards him, he did not bat an eyelid and stared straight at her. Without a doubt, Yen Qingyi was indeed a beauty, and it was a kind of otherworldly beauty that was not tainted by the smoke and fire of the mortal world, causing one to not have the slightest bit of dirty thoughts. Can you accompany me for a walk? Yen Qingyi's red lips parted slightly, and her voice was very light, as if it was not tainted with the smell of smoke and fire. With the invitation of a beauty, if Tang Zheng mercilessly refused, it would not be justifiable. Thus, he nodded and stood up. Yen Qingyi did not say anything else and directly walked out of the door. Tang Zheng followed closely behind her and was a step behind. Looking at her back, he suddenly had a great interest in this young miss of the Yen family. She had an identity that others yearned for even in their dreams, but she did not cherish it in the slightest. She also did not do the things of a rich second generation, and instead left the mortal world to become a monk. It has to be said that she was an anomaly. Towards this kind of unusual person, Tang Zheng naturally had a desire to learn more. Yen Qingyi's steps were very slow, but each step seemed to have been measured with a ruler, not more, not less, not even a bit off. After passing through a winding corridor and passing through a small doorway, the scene in front of them suddenly opened up. A steep cliff and snow-white clouds impressively appeared in front of them. This was the beautiful scenery of Longxiang Mountain. The Yan family occupied this piece of land with good feng shui, which really made people envious. Not far from the cliff, there was a small and exquisite Taoist temple. This temple with black bricks and black tiles was hidden in the forest. It stood next to the cliff, adding a trace of quiet and secluded feeling to the mountain forest. Is that the Taoist temple you cultivate in? Tang Zheng curiously asked. Yan Qingyi glanced at it and lightly nodded. This doesn't really match your identity. Tang Zheng joked. With Yan Qingyi's identity, even if she was to become a monk, she would not be in such a shabby little Taoist temple. It's only a place for a monk to live. As long as one has the Tao in their heart, what difference does it make whether they are big or small? Yan Qingyi lightly said. He, as expected of a monk, your knowledge is indeed different from us, this kind of layman. Layman? You are not necessarily too modest. You are a cultivator. How many cultivators are there in this world? I think you should know better than me. You should also understand that your identity is not simple, so how could you be a layman? But no one said that cultivators are not laymen. They are always entangled with worldly matters, unlike you who have seen through the mortal world. If you are not a layman, then what are you? Yan Qingyi looked at the clouds in the distance and said, I have not seen through the mortal world. People who cultivate the Tao in their hearts. There is no need to see through the mortal world. If you see through everything, then how can you cultivate the Tao? This Tao is the Tao of the world, and it is closely related to the mortal world. Only by understanding the mortal world can you truly cultivate the Tao. Oh! Tang Zheng exclaimed in surprise. This point was out of Tang Zheng's expectations, and seemed to have a deeper meaning. There are thousands of Taos in the world. Everyone has their own Tao, and everyone's Tao is different. However, many people's Tao is too vulgar. They may not be able to understand their own Tao even if they spend their whole lives. May I ask what your Tao is? My Tao. Tang Zheng frowned. He had never thought about this question. He had experienced ups and downs along the way, but did he have a Tao? Tang Zheng really did not know the answer. You don't know? Tang Zheng nodded honestly, I am just a vulgar person. I really don't like to ponder about these complicated and profound things. No, it's just that your Tao has not yet revealed itself. When you continue to walk step by step in the future, you will eventually comprehend your Tao. At that time, your achievements and your cultivation will rise to another level. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly, then I'll take advantage of your auspicious words. However, you specially brought me here for more than just talking about Tao, right? Yan Qingyi withdrew her gaze from the distance and then stared at Tang Zheng. When their eyes met, Tang Zheng found that her gaze was deep. There was a kind of realm of selflessness that made people involuntarily fall into her eyes. Do you believe in fate? Yan Qingyi asked. Fate? Tang Zheng shook his head blankly, I don't know, but I do know one thing. I believe in myself. I believe that I can control my own fate with my own strength. It seems that you are very confident. You can say that. When Tang Zheng was a child, he believed that his own efforts could be exchanged for higher grades. Now he believed that hard work could increase his cultivation, and thus enhance his strength and control his own fate. Everyone has their own fate. You are the same. Since there is fate, it means that it is arranged by the heavenly Tao. Then there are traces to follow, and even know in advance. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily and said, Your words are exactly the same as the fortune-tellers on the street. I believe that if you go and do fortune-telling, your business will definitely be good. Yan Qingyi acted as if she did not hear him and continued, To predict the future is to know a person's fate in advance. Oh, is there anyone in the world who has this ability? Tang Zheng asked casually. Yan Qingyi nodded seriously. Tang Zheng was stunned. He was just casually asking, why did she nod so firmly? Do you want to know your own fate? Yan Qingyi asked. Do you really want to be a fortune-teller? Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. Please answer me. Yan Qingyi was still serious. Seeing that she did not seem to be joking, Tang Zheng's smile gradually disappeared, and he looked at her suspiciously. If she was not Yan Qingyi, Tang Zheng would definitely think that he met with a scammer, and immediately turn around and leave. Since she was not joking, and she said with such certainty that there was such a person who could predict the future, it meant that she knew this person, or, she was this person. Tang Zheng was shocked by his own deduction. Although he was a cultivator and knew mysterious techniques, he never thought that he could predict the future. Because, that kind of ability was too heaven-defying. Chapter 488. Yan Qingyi looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. She was also taking a huge risk by saying these words. If others knew that Yan Qingyi had the ability to predict the future, then the Yan family would definitely become the target of public criticism. This was because no one was willing to see such an opponent, because they would seek benefits and avoid harm, and thus develop and grow stronger. He had to eliminate such a heaven-defying opponent before the other party grew stronger. Yan Qingyi was truly too interested in Tang Zheng. Although she could predict the future and predicted that Tang Zheng would become a character who saved tens of thousands of people from fire and water in the future, telling him at this moment was also taking a huge risk, because it was extremely likely that it would change the direction of the future. However, she still couldn't help but want to see what was so special about this future savior. Tang Zheng's expression changed a few times, and in the end, he let out a long sigh and said, "Forget it, knowing one's own destiny sounds very attractive. But if one knew one's own destiny, then what's the point of living, what's the point of living, what's the point of living? If a person's life loses the excitement of looking forward to the future, then it's fine if they don't want this kind of life." Yan Qingyi was startled, she did not expect him to reply in such a way. If an ordinary person had this chance, they would definitely be impatient to know what their future was like, and even Yan Patian would not be able to avoid it. However, Tang Zheng actually resisted the temptation, this was too precious. Yan Qingyi's calm eyes gradually lit up. He was indeed not an ordinary person, no wonder he would take on such a great responsibility in the future. Since he didn't want to know, she wouldn't take the risk to say it, in case it changed the direction of the future. However, Tang Zheng's curiosity was piqued. He sized up Yan Qingyi from head to toe, as if he wanted to see through her, but after looking at her for a long time, he still found nothing. Yan Qingyi did not have any inner strength in her body, nor did she have any innate qi fluctuations. She was just an ordinary person, but she could actually predict the future. Tang Zheng felt that it was too mysterious. How do you have the ability to predict the future? Tang Zheng could not help but ask curiously. Yan Qingyi smiled indifferently. Everyone has their own secrets, and I am no exception. Since the other party wasn't willing to say more, then Tang Zheng wouldn't pester him. After chatting for a while, he bid farewell and left. Yan Qingyi stared at Tang Zheng's back as it disappeared into the forest. She muttered to herself, "Tang Zheng, I'm really looking forward to your performance." Tang Zheng left Beijing with Nana, Huang Xiang, and Xiao Bai. After getting off the plane, they went straight to ordinary balance. Mu Hongyan and the others were very busy. When they met again, Tang Zheng found that they were much more haggard. However, when they heard about the funds that Tang Zheng brought back, their haggard faces were swept away. Each of them was glowing, rubbing their hands together, and vowed to do a big job. This business empire was gradually taking shape. Tang Zheng, the hands-off shopkeeper, listened to some general reports and waved his hand, handing everyone over to them. As for how to deal with it, it was up to them to decide. Moreover, Yi Tianlei said not long ago that Mu Hongyan was a business genius. Being able to invite her to manage the overall situation was tantamount to picking up a treasure. Since it was a treasure, of course, he had to make the best use of it. Thus, he had no psychological burden as a hands-off shopkeeper. After staying in ordinary balance for 2 days, this year's winter vacation was very early. There was still some time before the new year. Tang Zheng decided to take advantage of this free time to go to the South Sea Dragon Palace. The Heaven and Earth obsidian was of great importance. If he didn't get it, he would always feel uneasy. Reluctantly saying goodbye to his family and friends, he stepped on the plane that flew to the southernmost part of Huaxia. Whether this trip would be dangerous or not, he still couldn't predict, so he brought Huang Xiang and Xiao Bai with him. If there was any danger, they could take care of each other. The Spring Festival had just started, but there weren't many passengers on this plane. Waiting for the plane to soar into the sky, Tang Zheng began to close his eyes to rest. The plane soared thousands of miles in the sky. The sun was shining outside the window, and occasionally white clouds floated by. The weather was very good. There was an empty seat next to Tang Zheng. Although he closed his eyes to rest, he still felt that someone was sitting next to him. He didn't take it seriously and continued to close his eyes to rest. After a long time, he faintly opened his eyes and inadvertently glanced at the seat next to him. Suddenly, he was frightened, as if he was bitten by a poisonous snake. If it wasn't for the seat belt, he would have stood up directly. However, he quickly calmed down. His eyes slightly narrowed as he firmly warned the other party, "You're really like a ghost that won't go away. Why are you following me again?" A burst of bell-like laughter rang out. "Tang Zheng, you were so scared when you saw me. Am I that ugly? So scary?" "You're not ugly, but that doesn't mean that ugly people are scary. You're the dignified holy maiden of Li Palace, but instead of staying in Li Palace, you're following me like a ghost. What exactly do you want to do? Do you want to kill me?" Tang Zheng asked in an unfriendly tone. On that rainy night, if not for Wu protecting him, he would have already been killed by Li Xiaotian while he was unconscious. The relationship between Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian was very complicated. The two of them had experienced a lot together, and even in the 10,000 huge mountains, they had experienced many dangers together. It could be said that they had gone through thick and thin together. However, his wariness towards Li Xiaotian was even stronger than his wariness towards Wu. This was because Li Xiaotian was a fickle person that was hard to figure out. Her words and actions changed a lot. Originally, she was still talking and laughing, but in the blink of an eye, she could kill you without even blinking. This kind of person only acted based on their own interests. This kind of person was very terrifying, because you didn't know when you would harm their interests and become their mortal enemy. Hearing Tang Zheng's unfriendly tone, Li Xiaotian laughed and said, "Yes, I really want to kill you, because you are already a huge danger factor. Moreover, you already have enmity towards me, so if I don't kill you before you are completely strong, when you become strong enough in the future, I won't be able to contend against you at all. At that time, there will be no hope for me to kill you, and at that time, it will be my bad luck. You and I were originally going to stay out of each other's way. Why are you doing this? Because you are a cultivator, and after witnessing the power of the 100 transformations Star Lord, I understand the terror of cultivators. If we were to let cultivators return in the future, us martial artists would be in deep trouble. Actually, these were all the responsibilities of the martial sect, but did the people of the martial sect have water in their heads? Not only did they not kill you, they even helped you. However, it doesn't matter. I'll do it for them." Li Xiaotian's tone was very relaxed, without the slightest fluctuation in his emotions, as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. Tang Zheng asked himself many times if he could not do what she did. No wonder she was able to become the holy maiden of Li Palace. She was indeed different from ordinary people. "I am completely different from the 100 transformations Star Lord. Why do you have to target me? People will change. You are different from him now, but who knows if you will be the same as him in the future. Therefore, the danger had to be strangled in the cradle. In addition, I have always been attached to the heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrows. If I kill you, won't I be able to obtain these two divine armaments?" Li Xiaotian blinked her big black eyes and said playfully. "Then I'm afraid it won't be as you wish. If you want to kill me, you're still lacking a bit of ability. Moreover, since you have the intention to kill me, I won't let you off either. Tang Zheng said resolutely with a murderous aura. Tang Zheng did not have the habit of not killing women. Women were also humans, and since men and women were equal, then if men could kill women, could it be that women could not be killed? Moreover, the other party was still an enemy. If he did not kill him, could it be that he was waiting for the other party to assassinate him again and again? Wouldn't he be the world's greatest fool? So scary, you can actually ruthlessly attack me. Li Xiaotian patted his chest and pretended to be afraid. Stop acting, there are no other spectators here, so it's useless for you to act. Moreover, I can't kill you on this plane, otherwise, it won't be good if other people are buried with you. Tang Zheng said. Yo, you're quite sympathetic. You even know how to care about the lives of others. You're indeed a little different from that 100 transformations Star Lord. Li Xiaotian joked. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes at her, he was too lazy to care about her, and prepared to close his eyes to rest. But Li Xiaotian was not prepared to give up just like that, and asked, Aren't you curious why I came to find you again? Tang Zheng remained silent. Li Xiaotian didn't care and said, Since you know that I want to kill you, I followed you to the sky. Of course, it's not to accompany you to see the scenery, but for my purpose, to kill you. Tang Zheng suddenly opened his eyes were like lightning, and was quite frightening. Li Xiaotian chuckled and asked, Are you afraid? Could it be that you want to kill me on the plane and let so many innocent people die with me? Tang Zheng asked coldly. Hee, innocent people, do you think they are all innocent people? Then why don't you personally ask them if they are innocent? Li Xiaotian reached out to cover her cherry mouth, and pointed to the other passengers and asked. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly looked up, only to see that there were about 100 people on the plane, and many of them were focused in his direction. When Tang Zheng's gaze swept over, everyone subconsciously lowered their heads, unwilling to look at Tang Zheng, but it was already too late, Tang Zheng had already noticed the clues. These passengers were not ordinary people, each and every one of them had eyes like lightning, bright and full of expression, one could tell at a glance that they were not good people. Tang Zheng was shocked, there were no innocent people on this plane, the other passengers had already been cleared out, and in their place were enemies who wanted to kill him. What a big move. Tang Zheng coldly snorted, and said. You're not afraid, as expected of a body full of guts, admirable. But, from now on, I won't be able to see you again, it's quite a pity. Li Xiaotian shook her head, and said regretfully. Stop playing around, since Li Palace has made such a big move to kill me, then come. Tang Zheng was suddenly not afraid, and had already unbuckled his seatbelt. On the other side, Huang Xiang also quietly unbuckled his seatbelt, his face ashen, ready to attack at any time. Chapter 489. When Tang Zheng heard this, he carefully looked and found that it was indeed the case. The people from Li Palace were all women and these were all tall and sturdy men. It seems that you have found a helper. I am not your opponent, so of course I need to find a helper. This time my helper is not simple. Li Xiaotian proudly said. Just as he finished speaking, a person walked over. Tang Zheng's pupils shrank as he stared at the person and coldly said, Xing Feng, it's you? Li Xiaotian was actually working with the dragon group. This was really unexpected. Tang Zheng, I know that you definitely still have the life-continuing pill. Hand it over and we can let you go. Xing Feng murderously said. You still want the life-continuing pill? Tang Zheng coldly said, you really don't want to give up. Tang Zheng, going against the dragon group is going against the country. You are digging your own grave. Your words sound dignified and even better than singing. But what qualifications do you have to represent the country? Don't talk to me about these useless things. It is you guys who want to go against me and not me who wants to go against you. If you want to use your strength to bully the weak, then let's see if you are strong enough. Tang Zheng said with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Li Xiaotian coldly watched from the side. Seeing that Tang Zheng was unyielding, he could not help but clap his hands and said with a smile, "You really have spirit. Strong, strong. Since it is like this, then what are you waiting for?" Finished speaking, Li Xiaotian stood up and took a few steps back. Xing Feng did not say anything and waved his hand. In an instant, Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang were surrounded by layers upon layers of people. "You want to attack me from 10,000 meters up in the air? You guys are dreaming," Tang Zheng jokingly said. "It is because we are 10,000 meters up in the air that you have nowhere to hide and nowhere to run," Xing Feng proudly said. With the previous experience, Xing Feng had clearly learned his lesson. "Is that so?" Tang Zheng did not comment. "Do it." Xing Feng waved his hand, and more than 10 guns were pointed at Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang. "I know you're not afraid of ordinary guns. Have a taste of the power of these guns." Tang Zheng felt a chill in his heart. These guns were definitely not ordinary guns. He did not dare to be careless and waited for them. Bang bang bang. The other party pulled the triggers together, and bullets shot out from the muzzles. Before the bullets hit Tang Zheng, they exploded, and the air seemed to freeze. Tang Zheng's expression suddenly changed. He shouted, "Be careful," and pushed out both of his palms. With a whoosh, a strong wind blew in their faces. Everyone felt a burning sensation on their cheeks, as if they were being burned by fire. The cold air produced by the explosion was instantly neutralized, but the other party did not stop. Instead, he continued to pull the trigger. Bullets blotted out the sky and instantly enveloped the space in front of Tang Zheng. "You want to force me to submit just like that? Dream on." Sky-swallowing technique. Tang Zheng roared. He drew a circle in front of his chest with his palm, and an invisible suction force was instantly produced. It was as if a black hole had appeared in the void. The bullets that blotted out the sky disappeared without any warning. "Ah!" Many people cried out in alarm. Even Li Xiaotian's eyes flashed with a strange light. "Now it's our turn. Do it." Before Tang Zheng finished speaking, he had already leaped out like a fierce tiger. In such a small space, although the enemy had the advantage of numbers, not everyone could use their full strength. There were only about 10 people who could face Tang Zheng face to face. Although the other party was a super soldier, there was still a large gap between their individual strength and Tang Zheng's. Therefore, under Tang Zheng's bold and fierce moves, several people had already fallen. Huang Xiang did not care. He passed by Tang Zheng and directly charged into the enemy's battle. Battle cries rose and fell, and people kept falling. Xing Feng's face was ashen. Li Xiaotian crossed his arms and urged, "Why aren't you using your killer move? If this goes on, your subordinates will be wiped out. But if I kill him like that, I won't be able to get the life-continuing pill. Then I won't be able to report to my superiors." Xing Feng hesitated. The life-continuing pill was something that his superiors wanted. If he failed again, then he really would not have the face to report to his superiors. "Kill him and take his sumaru pouch. Won't you be able to get what you want?" Li Xiaotian suggested. Tang Zheng could make other things appear at any time, so he definitely had a treasure like the sumaru pouch. This was not difficult for Li Xiaotian and Xing Feng to guess. "Okay, kill him." Xing Feng was also rather envious of the mysterious four symbols Venerable One. The life-continuing pill could be handed over to the higher-ups, but if the four symbols Venerable One could keep it for his own use, then he could safely make up for his lack of strength. Seeing that Xing Feng's killing intent had been aroused, the corner of Li Xiaotian's mouth curled up, and he sneered in his heart, "Idiot, I have my heaven-shocking bow and shooting sun arrows in my sumaru pouch, how could I let you off so easily? Open the cabin door." Xing Feng ordered loudly. With a bang, the cabin door opened, and a strong suction force was produced. The things inside the cabin flew out of the cabin, and flew 10,000 meters into the air. A few super warriors were also sucked out, while Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang were forced to retreat towards the cabin door. The two of them seemed to have grown roots in the cabin and did not move an inch. However, they could not resist the enemy's pressure. They approached the cabin door step by step, and the huge suction force caused their clothes to flutter, causing their faces to hurt. What are they doing? Could it be that they want to force me out of the sky and fall to my death? Tang Zheng thought suspiciously. Whiz! With a sharp sound of something tearing through the air, a rocket actually rose into the air and shot towards Tang Zheng. F***CK, what are they doing? Aren't they afraid of blowing up the plane? Aren't they afraid of death? Tang Zheng shouted crazily, but facing the continuous barrage of rockets, this was completely different from the bullets from before. In terms of explosive power, the rockets were even stronger. Bang! With a loud explosion, Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang were sent flying by the blazing heat wave, and a large hole was blown in the wall of the cabin. The alarm in the cabin rang non-stop. However, the others acted as if they did not see it. Seeing that Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang were sent flying by the wave of air, everyone immediately jumped out of the hole. What the hell are they doing? Are they really not afraid of death? Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. The other party's actions were completely out of his expectations. But soon, Tang Zheng's question was answered, because two flames spurted out from the feet of each super soldier, and their bodies were suspended in mid-air. So they have special equipment. No wonder they are so fearless. Are they bullying me because I don't have any equipment? Are they planning to fall to my death? Tang Zheng felt the wind blowing in his ears. The feeling of weightlessness was a test of one's mental and physical endurance. However, Tang Zheng did not panic. When he saw the pursuers diving down without holding back, he calmly took out the dragon-trapping lasso. The dragon-trapping lasso was like an extension of his arm, easily binding a few super soldiers. With a few cracking sounds, the equipment on their legs was destroyed by the dragon-trapping lasso, and then these guys without wings quickly fell down, their screams echoing through the sky. Tang Zheng sneered. He thought that these super soldiers were really not afraid of death, but it turned out that they knew fear even without equipment. The only person who was not afraid was Huang Xiang. His eyes were wide open as he fell uncontrollably. However, he did not panic, and there was not even the slightest fluctuation in his eyes. Tang Zheng glanced at him and shouted, "Don't just watch, attack the enemy." Huang Xiang's body suddenly froze for a moment, the ghost head blade slashed out in the air, and a person was directly killed by the blade, turning into a rain of blood. Missiles, lock onto him. With Xing Feng's order, a pocket-sized missile launcher rose from the shoulders of a few super soldiers. Swoosh swoosh. The missile followed a strange path and flew towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was in mid-air and had nowhere to relay the missile. Seeing a missile flying towards him, he immediately took out his heaven-shocking bow and sun-shooting arrow. With a whoosh, a shooting sun arrow hit the missile. Flames rose into the air, but the shooting sun arrow was not destroyed. It only had its attack power reduced and flew to the side. Li Xiaotian, who had been watching coldly from the side, also had a full set of equipment. He quickly grabbed the sun-shooting arrow and could not hide the joy on his face. Back then, he had only managed to obtain a sun-shooting arrow from Tang Zheng's hands after racking his brains. Today, he had obtained another one. It was not in vain to cooperate with the dragon group and endure Xing Feng's bad temper. When Tang Zheng saw that a sun-shooting arrow had fallen into Li Xiaotian's hands, although he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. Huang Xiang's method of dealing with the missile was even more efficient. He did not back down at all, and instead used his blade to deal with the missile. Bang! With an explosive sound, Huang Xiang was sent tumbling a few times by the explosion. His body was blasted open, and his clothes were tattered as fresh blood flowed out. However, he did not feel any pain at all. Instead, he roared like a madman, filled with anger. Tang Zheng, today is the day you die. Let's see how you're going to escape. Xing Feng looked down from above and roared complacently. Tang Zheng looked at the other party hatefully. They were fully prepared and purposely moved at such a high altitude, greatly limiting Tang Zheng's fighting strength. The speed at which they were falling was getting faster and faster, and they were getting closer and closer to the ground. What entered their eyes was a boundless blue sea. The reason they chose to make their move above the sea was to avoid attracting the attention of the people on the land. Although it was all water below them, the water was still fatal. Falling into the water at such a high speed, not to mention that Tang Zheng's chaotic Vajra spell had not reached large success, even if he had, falling into the water at such a high speed would still be enough to choke on. This won't do, we're definitely going to die like this. We have to think of a way. Tang Zheng was anxious, but Xiangzi was calm as his thoughts raced. However, Xing Feng obviously did not want to give the two of them the chance to think. Attacks came one after another, whether it was the cold air bullets or the missiles, they all greeted the two of them with all their might. They wanted to counterattack, but the other party relied on their equipment and dodged far away, leaving Tang Zheng helpless. The smile on Xing Feng's face grew wider and wider, while Li Xiaotian was relatively calm. She had interacted with Tang Zheng for so many days, so she understood him better. Until the last moment, she could not predict what would happen, much less determine the outcome. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.